Chapter 13, Mortgages. In this chapter, we're going to describe the provisions of a note. We're going to learn what a note and a mortgage is. We're going to learn about trust deeds. We're going to explain the various methods of satisfying or transferring a mortgage, including learning about the process of foreclosure. So there are two parts of a mortgage. Well, let's first start off with this. A mortgage is a pledge of property that serves as security or collateral for a loan. It's the promise to pay. And there are two parts of a mortgage, the mortgage itself and the note. So the mortgage itself is the promise to pay. Now, the promise that you're making is you're telling the lender that you're pledging your property as security for the loan, and you promise to pay them back. And if you don't pay them back, according to the terms in the note, which is the financing instrument, which lays out all the terms, then the lender could foreclose to gain ownership of the property pledged as collateral, sell it at auction, and then use those proceeds to pay off the debt. The mortgagor is the That's the way to remember. You just sing it. The mortgagor is the borrower. Now, the notes or bonds, but we don't use bonds in New Jersey. Notes and bonds do the same thing. In New Jersey, we use notes. We use notes in a mortgage. So the note is a financing instrument. It lays out all the terms, the amount borrowed, the interest rate, terms of repayment, the monthly payment amount. So this note makes the borrower liable for the full amount owed, even in the event of foreclosure. If the lender doesn't get all their money back at the auction after you exercise you failed on your promise to pay, so they sold the property at auction. If those proceeds are not enough to pay back the lender all the money that you borrowed, it is the note that makes the borrower personally liable for the full amount owed. So that outstanding balance they were not able to recoup from the foreclosure allows the lender now to chase after you personally for any balance that you may still owe. So, to recap, there's two parts of a mortgage, the mortgage and the note. The note is the financing instrument, and the mortgage is that promise to pay. Who is the mortgagor?
Borrower.
The borrower. There you go. So, let's do the highlights on that then. This is on page 257 and 250.
Note. Instrument. Mortgage. Security. Where is that part? Oh, here it is. And we have to write it down over here. A mortgage is an example of.
Yeah, this is talking about hypothecation. Hypothecation is a term used to describe the pledging of property as security or payment for a loan without surrendering possession of that property.
What does that mean? Hold on.
A mortgage is an example of hypothecation. You're pledging your property as security for the loan, but you're not giving up that property, you're living in it. It's the opposite of the way that a pawn shop works, where you would have something of value, you take it to the pawn shop, they estimate its value, and then they'll loan you a percentage of that value of that item. But they'll hold on to that item until you come back and pay them back. If you don't come back and pay them back by a certain deadline, they'll sell that item. It becomes theirs, and then they sell it, and then they keep the profit on it. That's how they make money. But hypothecation, that's not how that works. You're pledging your property as security for the loan, but you're not giving it up. You're still holding on to it. You're living in it, most likely. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it.
Everybody got these notes down?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay.
So, the mortgagor is the
The borrower.
owner of the property. The mortgagee is the lender. And hypothecation is the pledging of that property as security for that loan without surrendering possession of that property. You're only pledging it as the security. The lender would have to come and get it if you fail to pay back the loan. And that's what foreclosure is. Foreclosure is the legal process of that lien holder coming and getting the property through the court system. In New Jersey, we have a judicial foreclosure system. It has to go through the court system. See, there's different types of foreclosure. Different states, it works different ways. In New Jersey,
Wow.
it's a judicial foreclosure. So it has to go through the court system. So a
Well,
mortgage is, yeah.
So where will we get the how you pronounce that word?
Hypothecation.
Hypothecation.
Hypothecation. Sounds
Hypothecation.
like a rich, upper crusty word, right? Hypothecation.
Hypothecation.
Hypothecation. Stick your nose up in the air and be like, hypothecation.
Hypothecation.
Hypothecation. That's the way you say it. So the borrower's not giving up the collateral for the property. They're just pledging it as security for a loan.
But who do they go to pledge it?
Your lender.
Oh, my lenders. I have to go back to my mortgager.
Well, that's how you get the loan to begin with, right? You're pledging, you're signing a promise on paper, okay? You're saying, hey, lender, loan me your money, and I'm going to pay you back according to the terms that we agree upon, that we wrote in this document called a note.
Right.
If I fail to pay you back according to the terms that I've agreed upon here on paper, you can now take me to court and foreclose on me to gain ownership of that property that I pledged as security for the loan, so that you can then sell it at an auction or have a sheriff sell and have them sell it at auction. And then you get the proceeds from that sale to pay back what I owed you. Hopefully it's enough to pay back what I owe you. If it's not, they can, the note is the personal pledge that you made.
So that's just a different name. It's just a different name for me borrowing the money from the regular, right?
Well, these are the, what, hypothecation?
Yeah.
Well, hypothecation, a mortgage itself is an example of hypothecation, because hypothecation is just the pledge, where you're just promising, hey, I promise to pay you back, and if I don't pay you back, you can take the property, sell it at auction, and use the proceeds to pay off the debt. But I'm not leaving that property with you. You have to come and get it. That's what hypothecation is. You're pledging the property as security for the loan, but you're not giving up that property. You're holding on to it. You're living in it.
Holding.
Okay.
That's all I
So
mean.
there's two different type of loans you can get.
So then hypothecation is a part to the deal, right? To the mortgage.
Well, a mortgage is an example of the hypothecation.
Okay. I'm getting confused. I'm like, that is exactly what a mortgage is, though, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I'm getting confused
Yeah.
at. Okay.
Because what is a mortgage? It's a promise to pay, right? And what does that
Yeah.
promise say? If I fail to pay you back, you can foreclose on me, sell the property at auction, and use the proceeds to pay off the debt. Well, that's exactly what hypothecation is. You're pledging
And,
property as security, but you're not giving up the property. You're holding on to it.
sorry, that's it's same like it's auto loan. When you have auto loan, so you pledge you auto to the bank or to the financial institution. If you
Correct.
don't pay, they take your car.
Yep.
That's the same.
Yep.
It's,
The hypothecation is the pledge of giving, putting up the property as collateral without actually leaving the property with the lender. You're taking the property with you. It's your property, right? You're not giving it to them. They're not holding on to it. It's your property, like the car. You leave the dealership with the car. You don't leave it there until you pay off the loan and then you come pick it up. Okay. That's the way pawn shops work. You guys ever see those shows on TV, Pawn Stars or any of those things? They talk about pawn shops and how they work. Well, Pawn Stars is actually PAWN. It's not porn, but pawn, PAWN. Pawn Stars is actually a program on TV of a pawn shop that's in, I believe it's in Las Vegas, where people come in, they walk off the street they need money, so they come in with their personal items of value and they bring them in to get them valued, and then they'll loan them a percentage of the value of that item. Or sometimes people are just looking to sell the item, so they come into a pawn shop, they get a valuation of the item and they sell it to them, and then they sell it in their pawn store where people come in and they shop the goods that are available for sale that people once pledged as security for a loan but never came back to pick it up, so it became the pawn shop's property that now they get to sell it. Or items that they just walked in off the street and said, I don't want a loan, I just want to sell it straight up to you. So now the pawn shop sells those items in their store, which is like a boutique, That's how pawn shops work. It's the opposite of how hypothecation is. You're not giving up the property, you're holding on to it. Unless you default on the payments of your loan. Listen, don't worry about this. You're not going to see the word hypothecation on exams. No, I'm sorry, I lie. You will see the word hypothecation, but it's probably going to be a wrong answer option. They're not going to ask you what hypothecation is. It'll be like one of the multiple choice options on a question, I think, on one of the exams. You'll see it because they use real words. It'll probably be one of the wrong answers. But you're not going to get any questions on exams about hypothecation. All right, so let me continue reading off this definition here. So the borrower is not giving up collateral, the collateral property. They're just pledging it as collateral or security for the loan. And if the borrower doesn't pay them back, the lender would have to come and get it. They would do that by the legal process known as foreclosure. Unlike pawn shops, where you actually give them the property to hold on to in exchange for the loan, and if you don't come back to pay back the money and pick up your property, they keep it, sell it, and they get their profits. They get their money back and profit.
Got it.
Okay?
Much better. Got it.
Trust deeds are not used here in New Jersey. Some states use, instead of our notes and the mortgages, they use something called a trust deed or deed of trusts. That conveys the real estate as security for the loan to a neutral third party called a trustee that'll hold on to this deed. And when you pay off the loan, they'll give it to you. Or if you default on the loan, they give it back to the lender. So it doesn't go through the court systems. So it's a fairly swift process. We don't do that here in New Jersey. In New Jersey, foreclosure is a judicial process that goes through the court system. So foreclosure using trustee which is a neutral third party, and a trust deed is a lot easier, smoother process without going through the court systems to do the foreclosure. Okay, they're just holding on to the deed that you sign, right? And if you don't pay back the loan or you default on the loan, they give the deed to the lien holder. Okay. If you pay back the loan in full, well, then they give it back to you. Okay. It's just a neutral third party that holds on to that deed until one or the other thing happens. We don't use them here in New Jersey. So let's learn about the note. What is the note? It's the financing instrument. It lays out all the terms of the financing. All right. So in some states, they use bonds. We use notes. Does the same thing. It's the financing instrument. It's executed by the borrower. What does executed mean? It means signed. It has the amount of debt borrowed, the loan amount, the time and method of repayment, the term. It states the rate of interest that you borrowed it at, what the monthly payment amount is. It's signed by all parties who have an interest in the property, and it's what makes the borrower personally liable for the entire debt, even in the event of foreclosure. If the lender sells the property and they're not able to recoup all the money that they lent you, it is the note that makes you the borrower personally liable for the full amount they borrow. So they could chase after you for any deficiencies in your repayment of that loan. Everybody with me?
Yes.
So, what is a note? It's a financing instrument. What is a mortgage? It's the security instrument. It's your pledge. It's your promise to pay.
Hold on.
Hold on, what?
Okay. I just had to snip it.
You want me to go back?
I did it. Thank you.
Okay. So, what are the provisions of the mortgage document? What do they say? Well, the mortgage document is executed by the owner, the borrower of the property. It has a legal description that identifies the property that's being pledged as security for the loan. It identifies who the lender and the borrower is, so it identifies who the parties are. It should be signed by both parties, all the parties involved. It identifies the obligations of the borrower, and it identifies the rights of the lender. So, default or breach of contract we learned about. I'm just going to go over it again real quick. If any of the contractual obligations are not carried out, the borrower is considered to be in default, and the lender could then foreclose. But before the lender forecloses, they'll generally give a borrower 30 days to cure any defaults, because they don't want your property, they want the money. Now, what are the obligations of the borrower? What are these promises that the borrower has to upkeep and do? What are the obligations of the borrower, who is the mortgagor? Well, you know the first one. We all know the first one. You gotta repay the debt according to the terms in the note. Bless you. I think. Okay, that was a sneeze, right? Okay, so you got to repay the debt according to the terms in the note. You have to pay all the real estate taxes. Why? Because if you don't pay the taxes, what happens to the property? Tax foreclosure, right? And that could risk the lenders. It could wipe out all other liens. It could risk the lender's position. So you got to pay back you got to pay the real estate taxes. You also need to maintain property insurance, flood insurance, hazard insurance, because if the property burns down, like that property was the collateral for the loan. So you need to insure it so that in case something happens to that collateral, the collateral is insured for the lender. That's why they won't even let you close on the purchase of a property until the borrower has secured homeowners insurance policy that makes it payable to the lender. Also obtain lender's permission before doing any major renovations. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Do you know that? Did you know that you're technically
Must
a
obtain
defect
lender's
and can be
permission before
foreclosed on by the lender if you do any major renovations to your house and you didn't get your lender's permission to do it?
When they say major renovations, that's like putting siding or something on. You got to get permission for that. But what if it's a light fixture?
No, you don't need their permission for that. But what about in your kitchen? That's a major,
bathroom, kitchen,
that's a
major.
major renovation, right? Putting an addition on the house. Let's just stick with remodeling the kitchen. Let's keep it simple here.
Yeah.
So if you remodel your kitchen, what's the first step in remodeling a kitchen, other than getting permits for the construction? Well, what's the first step when you're actually going to start the remodeling job? What's the first thing that you're going to end up doing?
How much is that?
Huh?
How much did you pay for that renovation?
No.
The
What's-
price?
What's the first step in remodeling your kitchen? You're going to start a remodeling job. What's the
Good.
first step?
Pick out what you're going to remodel, right? Pick out the new.
Well, you got your plan set up. You already got it set up. You know what you're going to do to the kitchen. But when you actually start the job, what is the first thing you do?
The design means what you want,
You know
how
what the
you
design
want.
is. What's the first step to actually start the remodeling?
You got to
Other-
contact the vendor.
Other than the permit and the design, you got that out of the way. Now we got to start the remodeling job. Contractor comes to your house. What's the first thing they're going to do?
They're gonna-
They're gonna break everything. Means they're gonna
They're going to gut it.
Got
We
it.
call that gutting, right? Demolition day. It's demo day.
demo there, right?
We got to demolish what's there and rip everything out that's there before we could start the remodel. Okay. Demo day is done. You gutted your kitchen. There's nothing left in the kitchen. You get laid off.
Ooh.
Is the top priority in your life now finishing the remodeling job on my kitchen? Or is it, how am I going to make next month's mortgage payment?
Next
How
month.
am I going to feed the kids?
So
So-
now you got to go and ask to borrow some money,
Okay, so your top priority now is not to finish that kitchen,
right?
right? So now if it goes on, you're looking for another job right now. You're worried about that, you know. You still don't have a kitchen. And months go by. And you paid mortgage payments, and then the lender forecloses on you so that they could sell the property and get their money back. If you don't have a kitchen in a house, does that devalue the property?
You can't sell it without a kitchen.
Yeah, you can't sell a house without a kitchen with most loans, unless you get a construction loan or somebody's buying cash. You can't buy a house without a kitchen, number one. So it's greatly going to limit who you could sell it to. And number two, it's gonna devalue that property tremendously, not having a kitchen. So you just destroyed the collateral for the property. That's why the lender wants you to get their permission before doing any major renovation. They want to see what the plans are, who the contractor is that's doing the work, or is it you? Do you have all the money to complete the job? Where are you getting the money from to complete the job? Do you have it? So the lender's going to want to analyze all that first, because if you haven't got all the money to complete the job and you're going to be doing little by little, that's a longer, bigger risk for the lender's collateral.
Wow.
So they may not want you to do it. But have you ever heard of anybody reaching out to their lender to get permission to do a remodeling of their kitchen?
I never heard of it.
No, probably not. And it's not like the lender is driving by your house stalking you to see if you're doing any work on your house without getting their permission, right?
So is this? So you have
Find
to,
out about it somehow.
but it's saying must obtain a lender's permission.
Yeah, you must obtain the lender's permission.
So that's something new that came into law, or
No,
it's been like
It's
that?
always been there in that stack of paperwork that you sign when you're getting the loan from the lender. You know that stack of paperwork that you never read?
No.
You like sign here, and it shows you sign, but you didn't read all the paper in that loan documents, did you? Probably not. I mean, it's a stack of papers like that.
So
But
what if you,
it was in there. It was in there. I guarantee it. It was in there. And do most people do what they're supposed to be doing anyway when it comes to this? No, they're going to do the remodel. They're not going to know about it. I'm going to fix it. I'll be done with it before whatever, you know. But if a lender finds out you started any major renovations without their permission, they'll give you 30 days notice to finish the job, or they're going to foreclose on you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you better have the money to finish the job and the contractors in place. All right. You got to maintain the property. You can't let it fall apart. That's the collateral for the loan. You even got to cut the grass, you know, trim the shrubs, do all that stuff. Why? You mean you could foreclose on me if I don't cut the grass? Uh-huh. Yeah. A lender can foreclose on you if you don't cut the grass. You're not maintaining the property. If the gutters are starting to fall off the house and you don't fix them, you know, you're destroying their collateral. There's a storm that breaks something, but you don't go and fix it or claim it on insurance to repair it. Their collateral is getting devalued. You don't cut the grass. The grass is 4 feet high and you got a little tree starting to grow in the middle of your lawn. All right.
okay,
This actually creates a health hazard. Your neighbors could be calling the city on you. They're calling the health department. They could start issuing fines. If you don't take care of it, they could start issuing major fines to the homeowner and even foreclose on you if you don't start maintaining that property and paying those fines.
So you see how I ride by and some people just has a whole bunch of stuff in their yards. Can they get fined for that? If it's look like they're hoarding?
Somebody got to file a complaint if the city's not actively doing it, which they should be. But if they're not driving around and monitoring the area, you know, you got the code enforcement officials. Their job is to be driving around town, you know, checking things out. But a lot of times they're probably too busy with all people building permits and renovation permits, and they're doing that stuff. They're not really doing the job of driving around and, oh, look at the garbage over there. I got to make note of that. We got to issue them a fine or a warning or something, you know.
So there's really fines and stuff. I went to court with one of my friends. They had a speeding ticket in Bound Brook. And they was really giving out tickets because their garbage can wasn't 6 feet from the curb.
Huh. That's interesting. I got to put it by the curb because we got these automated garbage trucks now. You got to put it out by the curb, not far away. Otherwise,
I was just like, you can really get a ticket for so many feet. That I was like, well, I know not to move to this town.
Yeah, whatever your municipality's rules are, you got to follow those your town ordinance. You know, yeah.
Is there a way you can look up the town things, or you have to go to the municipality?
They should have them listed on their website or something, or you could call up your city clerk and find out where can I get a list of all the city ordinances. You know,
okay.
They're probably not going to make it easy for you, or they may have it. They may send you a link to a website, and you could look them up there. But those things, they're not that clear. I'm telling you, I ran for city council in my town recently, and they keep voting on things. We're voting on 20-5 subcode A-B 128 today. How do you vote on the bill? And in the meantime, if you're there from the voting public and you're listening to this, you're like, what the F are they voting on? What is that? Right. They don't tell you what it's about. They don't announce it. They're just saying we're voting on 20-5-A- you know, they're voting on some code that's not even listed like anywhere where you could find it. It's a new code that they're trying to build into existence. And it's like, well, where do we get more information on that? Good luck. Good luck. I was running for city council and I was having difficulty trying to get that information. Right. So,
Victor,
yeah.
So let's go back to must obtain lender's permission before major renovation. So let's say if I want to do the kitchen, I have to get the permission?
Yes.
From
'Cause,
the
you
city?
know, because your lender's gonna wanna know who's the contractor doing the work. They're gonna wanna see the plans, and they're gonna want to see the money. Where are you getting the money for that? Do you have the money to finish the job or not? If you don't, they're not gonna want you to start the job until you save the money first, and you have the money to finish the job. Otherwise, that job can drag on forever, and if it drags on forever, the longer that it's dragging on unfinished, the longer you're risking their collateral. It's too much of a risk for them, so they don't want you to do it. They could say no. And if you go do it anyway, they could foreclose on you.
So it is for kitchen. If you do the bathroom, big bathroom, still you need permission?
Any major renovation, remodeling the kitchen, the bathrooms, putting an addition on the house, major renovations.
So I don't know. I did it
Major-
2-3 years back. I don't know, did I get the permission or not? It's
Well,
done.
well, that's what most people do. They just do the job, they get it done, they never notify the mortgage lender, and and that's it.
I see.
You know, you finish the job, and you didn't notify them, it's not a problem.
I see.
But
And it's just them trying to cover their behind.
they're
if
trying to
something
cover
were to
their
happen.
bets that you need to notify them first to get their permission so that they can make sure that you're going to be able to finish the job. You were able
I
to
see.
finish the job. Some people, they start. Does anybody here in this class have a friend, family member, or somebody that they know that seems like their house is perpetually under construction with some kind of a repair or remodeling?
I do. I have a girlfriend, but she's
Or
in
is it you?
construction.
I mean, a friend, coworker,
And
somebody.
they've been redoing their kitchen, and the contractor is taking over a year. She just got a stove put in. So at that point, it's like,
Listen,
what she do?
I had a friend that was like that. You'd go over to his house. His kitchen was totally gutted. Like he even ripped the sheetrock off the walls. So all you had was the framing in there, but you could see the electrical wires and the plumbing behind the walls because there was no wall. It was just the framing. The floor was ripped up, everything. One wife later, he finished that remodeling job. I mean, it was going on for years. And eventually he finished the job one wife later. And then he started the next project in the dining room next door to the kitchen. He blew out the back wall to put in a nice glass sliding door. Just be careful. The first step is a doozy because he didn't put the deck in yet that you walk out to. So you got a sliding door going out to a big drop. It's like removal job, and that's exactly why the lender doesn't want you to do these things without first seeing the plans, seeing you got the financing, and who's doing the work. Is it you? Because most likely when you get home from work, the last thing you're thinking about is doing more work at home. Right? That's like why mechanics, like car mechanics, drive the biggest pieces of crap, right? After working on other people's cars all day, the last thing they want to do is work on their own.
Beauticians too. I'd be like, I don't trust. I'm like, if your hair ain't done, I don't trust you to do my hair. But it is. They don't have time to do theirs because they're doing their own.
So you also need to secure permission before adding any second mortgage loans to the property within 30 days of initially getting the loan to buy the house. And why is that? Because they want to ensure that they get the first position in the lien repayment order recorded in the public records.
Wait, so you could have two different mortgagees out there?
Yeah, you could have, well, you're the mortgagor. Yeah, you could have two mortgagees. You could have more than one lender, more than one loan on a house. People have 2, even 3 loans on the house. This is a crafty way that people can get away. How much money do you typically need to put down on a house using a conventional loan?
Well, it's about 2%, 3%. I think it was.
20.
What was it?
20.
20%.
And if you put down less than 20%, you need to carry private mortgage insurance. So some borrowers come up with crafty ways not to have 20% and not to put down and not to carry insurance on their mortgage loan. They get one loan for 80% of the value of the house and another loan for 20%. They got 100% financing, and they don't have to carry mortgage insurance. That's a crafty way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah, because something happens to your house, how are you going to fix it?
Well, we're talking about mortgage insurance, not homeowners insurance.
Oh, okay. So then what is mortgage insurance?
The insurance for the loan.
Oh,
So
okay.
if the borrower puts down less than 20% of the loan amount, if they put down less than 20%, so that means the lender's lending them more than 80%. Banking theory, conventional banking theory states that the lender is risking their depositor's money by loaning more than 80% of the value of the home because the borrower put down so little amount of cash. That's coming up, though. We're jumping ahead right now. Okay, so let's go here to the next page here. Let's just do these highlights and then we'll go over them. Highlights and the notes. Make sure you write all of these notes down in your book too, just like I have. Like next to provisions for default, write first step in foreclosure. The acceleration clause assists the lender in foreclosure. It's the first step in foreclosure. This happens even before a lis pendens is recorded. The defeasance clause ensures that when the debt is repaid, the mortgagee has no further claim on the property. The mortgagee is the lender, so I wrote lender beneath that. And this requires the lender to add another document to the public records called a satisfaction of mortgage when the loan is paid off. The estoppel certificate is executed by the borrower, and it verifies the amount that remains to be repaid and the interest rate. And then I'm going to have you write reduction certificate under that the reduction certificate does the same thing as an estoppel certificate, but it's signed by the lender. And I get a little cross-reference to page 261 here.
Okay, let me do first highlight, then I will write it.
Requires.
The lenders are the finance institution or bank, right?
So what?
Lenders are finance institution or bank, right?
Yeah, who's giving you the money?
We borrow the
Or
money.
credit union or wherever you're getting the money from. Private lender,
Yep.
wherever.
Yeah. First step is for
Assignment mortgage. Uh-oh.
this is here, right?
That's a technicals. Estoppel.
Last line left. Hold on. Let's see here. Yes, Okay. Think I did not miss anything.
So, above provisions for default, you wrote first step in foreclosure, and at the end of that paragraph, you wrote before this, a lis pendens is recorded, right?
Before this,
Yes.
And
Oh,
then
lender.
you wrote lender under mortgagee,
Oh,
and
no.
this sentence here after the defeasance clause.
Mhm.
And then after the estoppel certificate, you added definition here for a reduction certificate. All right, you got all those things?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So now we'll go through my slides. So the acceleration clause is the first step in foreclosure. The acceleration clause assists the lender in foreclosure, allowing them to accelerate the terms of the repayment of the debt, demanding the entire debt due and owing immediately. So before that, even that, a lis pendens is recorded in the public records. Okay. When you fall behind on your mortgage payments, the lender records a lis pendens. It's a public notice that possible future legal action may be pending, that legal action being foreclosure. And once they decide that they're going to go through with foreclosure, the first step is they enact the acceleration clause. They call the entire debt due and owing immediately. So the debt collection calls will stop. And even if the borrower calls the lender to make a payment, the lender will not accept that payment unless it covers the full amount, including any late fees and penalties. Because if they do accept any payment at this point, it could create an
foreclosure
implied
stop.
contract that they have some sort of an agreement in place. So it could mess up their foreclosure process. So that's why they won't. Now, the defeasance clause sounds like the word defeated. Defeasance, defeated, defeasance, defeated, right? When you've defeated your loan, you've paid it off. You killed that baby off. You've defeated it, right? The defeasance clause says you defeated the loan. So the lender has no further claim on the property, right?
What did defeated mean?
You beat it. You defeated. You won.
Yeah.
You defeated, right? So the defeasance clause means that you defeated it. You paid it off. So the lender has no further claim on the property. Okay. But they don't remove liens from public records. Once a lien is added, once any document is added to the public records, it's there forever. So when you defeated the loan and you paid it off, the defeasance clause requires the lender to go back and add another document to the public record called a satisfaction of mortgage lien or a satisfaction of lien. So now anybody searching the public records, they can see, oh, this person got a lien on the property. They got a satisfaction of lien. Okay, so that lien was paid off. That's why they never remove a document from the public record. They just add more documents. Hopefully your lender didn't forget to add the satisfaction of lien. So your attorney should make sure that it does get recorded. So you need to know these terms: acceleration clause, lis pendens, and defeasance clause. And these aren't bad study notes for you right here, by the way.
Lis pendent. Close the lender will file a lis pendent.
Yeah, and we learned about lis pendens back in chapter 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Was too.
Yep.
So if you guys want to see a picture of this slide or just write your own notes or however you want to do it.
Let me just make it. Okay. I'm
The
good.
estoppel certificate and reduction certificate, they're on different pages here. But an estoppel certificate is when the lender, we get a loan. You get a loan to buy a house,
Mhm.
right? Shortly after that, a month, 2, 3 months afterwards, you're going to get a notification from your lender that they sold the loan, and now you're going to be making your mortgage payments to someone else. Or it may be just that they sold the loan, but you're going to continue making the mortgage payments to the same place. But they're just giving you that notice. Okay? So, how does banking work? You go and you get a loan from your local lender, right? Your local lender, your bank, let's just say it's a bank, your local bank, you go to the bank to get a mortgage loan.
Mhm.
The bank lends you their money to buy a house. We call this loan origination. They originated a new loan for you to buy a house. The bank is not generally in the business of holding on to that loan for the long term. Because when they lend you their depositors' money, they need to get that money back right away, as soon as possible.
Mhm.
So when they originate that loan to you, they already have somebody in mind of who they're going to sell it to, so that they could get all the money back and some of the interest. And then sometimes this investor that buys the loan from the bank will also pay them a servicing fee to continue doing the collections of the monthly mortgage payments and rendering the accounting to the consumer.
I did not know all this happens.
This usually happens in the background. Okay. Your bank lends you money to buy a house. Before they lend you that money, they already got an investor lined up to buy that loan. How do I know this? Did you have to qualify for that loan in some way, shape, or form to get the loan?
Say that again.
Did you have to qualify for that loan in some shape or form
Yeah,
Yes.
in order to get the loan from the lender?
of course, yes.
They call those lending guidelines, right? You had to meet the lender's lending guidelines, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, who makes up these arbitrary lending guidelines that determine whether they're going to give you a loan or not?
The government or the bank.
The investor who's going to buy the loan from the bank.
They're investing.
They say that they're only going to buy the loans where the borrower meets these specific criteria and the property they're purchasing is within a certain value range for if it's a 1, 2, 3, or 4 family. They have very specific guidelines that investor says, I will buy any loan that you originate to the consumer if the consumer meets these guidelines and the property they're buying meets these guidelines. That's the lending criteria that your lender has. They get those criteria based on an investor's criteria for the loans they're willing to buy. Because the bank does not want to lend their depositors money and not have a way to get it back right away in case that consumer wants their money back. You know, what are the lenders, how do they pay interest on your money that you deposit in the bank? Well, they got to make money in order to pay you money on the money that you have, right? So they're sharing some of their profits with you, even though these days they ain't sharing much of it, right? You're lucky, what do they give you, 0.1% interest rate these days? Now, this whole story that I'm telling you is technically false. It's technically incorrect, but it is one that everybody can understand. And so this is why I'm telling you the story in this way. You go to the bank will lend you their depositors' money to buy a house if you meet certain investors' lending criteria, so that after they loan you the money to buy a house, they could then resell that loan to an investor to get all their money back, plus some of the interest, so that they could re-lend it again and send it and sell it to another lender and get all the money back and some of the interest. So this way your bank just keeps rinsing and repeating. They keep repeating that process of lending. Your local bank is in the business of loan origination. They qualify people for loans. They lend their money. You buy a house with it. Then they sell that loan to an investor to get all their money back plus some of the interest. So now they made money on it. And sometimes they can make additional money because that investor doesn't want to deal with the paperwork. So they have that local bank continue to do the billing and the loan collection of the monthly payments. Everybody with me? It's pretty simple to understand. Pretty
Yes.
basic concept here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now that we understand that, what is an estoppel certificate? Well, when the lender sells your loan to an investor, that investor is going to want the borrower, the one who took out the loan, to confirm what the bank is trying to sell them. They're selling them your loan, and your loan was for a certain amount at a certain interest rate with a certain monthly mortgage payment for a certain term. How many years, right? So they're going to want the borrower to sign a document called an estoppel certificate that just verifies all the terms of their loan. It verifies the original loan amount, the remaining balance, the monthly payment, the interest rate, and the terms of payment. And it may not have the words estoppel certificate anywhere on it, but that's what they call it. It could be a regular mortgage bill. By you making the payment, you're verifying all this information is accurate. Okay? They may do it that way. Now, that makes sense, right? If you're going to buy something from someone, you're going to ensure that it is what it is that they're selling is accurate.
Yes,
Well,
that's
they're also going to want the bank who's selling them the loan to also verify that, the same information.
To investor,
To
for
the
investor, right?
Correct. But the document that the bank signs, the lender signs, it's called a reduction certificate.
Oh,
So the document the borrower signs verifying all this information is called an estoppel certificate. And the document that the lender signs verifying that same information is called a reduction certificate. But a reduction certificate can also be used at other times. Like if you're selling your property and we need to get a payoff statement from the lender to find out what it is. That's what the balance is. That's often referred to as a reduction certificate as well. So it does the same thing as an estoppel certificate, but it's signed by the lender who verifies the loan terms. It's given to an investor who buys the loan from a lender, or when a property is being sold to get a payoff statement from the closing agent to pay off the loan from the proceeds of the sale. Basically, estoppel certificates and reduction certificates verify the terms. That's it.
verify the terms between lender and investors.
Well, the estoppel certificate is you as a borrower, you got a loan to buy a house.
Right.
You sign an estoppel certificate to verify the terms of your loan.
Oh, okay.
How much did you originally borrow? What is your current loan balance? What is the interest rate? What's your monthly mortgage payment? What are the terms? Meaning, how many years is your loan? Okay, that's all it is. It's a document that verifies information. Look, I'm renting. I'm a renter, right? I'm the lessee. I'm a tenant for my commercial business. My landlord sold the building that I'm in. But when they sold the building to the new buyer, their attorney wanted us to sign an estoppel certificate verifying the terms of my lease. So an estoppel certificate is just a document that verifies the terms of something, whether it's a mortgage loan or whether it's a lease. Right now, we're talking about lending. So pertaining to lending, an estoppel certificate verifies all the terms of your loan. All right.
Okay.
That's not happening in the real life because most the bank they sold you mortgage and they didn't tell you. Just
Well, they told you in the documents that you originally signed when you took out the loan. They tell you in there, we're going to sell your loan.
yeah.
It's in that stack of paperwork that nobody reads. It's in there. Okay.
Yeah.
But the estoppel certificate, they get you to sign later when they're actually selling the loan. But sometimes it's not even a matter of you signing it. Sometimes you, by making your monthly mortgage payment and submitting that payment, you're verifying all this information. So that's another way of having an estoppel certificate. By your actions, it creates the contract. And by the implied contract is created for the estoppel certificate, verifying all the terms that they stated on your monthly payment statement when you submit the payment.
Yeah. So
By the action of you submitting the payment, you verified it.
yeah, that you create an implied contract.
Yeah, that's another way of them doing it.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm going to keep things simple. We're diving too much into details and focusing too much on details here. I like to keep it simple, stupid. What is an estoppel certificate? It's a document where the borrower confirms all their loan terms. Okay, and a reduction certificate is a document that the lender signs confirming the same. So, a note is a negotiable instrument that may be sold by the lender. Like,
Yeah, finance
doesn't the note, that's all the financing instrument. It verifies all the terms that you agreed to, right?
Yes.
So when the lender sells your loan, they're selling the note.
The lender, right?
Yeah, the lender's selling the note that you signed. So they assign the mortgage to someone else to take over. The satisfaction of lien is recorded in the public records once you've defeated the loan and paid it off, right? According to the defeasance clause that requires them to do so. The lenders recorded their liens in the public records in the county where your property is located. The date of recording establishes the priority of the lien. And before any documents can be recorded in the public records, they first need to be acknowledged. Ooh, that's a new term. Well, actually, it's not. I think we went over it once before. We mentioned it once before anyway. What is an acknowledgement? An acknowledgement is a confirmation that the signatures are genuine to prevent forgeries. So when you sign a document, you have it witnessed by a notary or a judge or an attorney or an elected public official. They either swear an oath that they know who you are and that you're signing this document, or that they check your ID and verified who you say you are before you sign the document. That's what an acknowledgement does. It's there to prevent forgeries. Usury is another term we need to know for exams. It's on the bottom of page 259. So let's highlight usury. Is the charging of an unreasonably high rate of interest is known as usury. And the purpose is to prevent loan sharking. What's loan sharking is the puzzle
Usury.
that I see on your face right now. So what is loan sharking? All right. You guys know what the mob is, right? The mafia, the mob.
Yeah, mafia.
Mafioso. You know, you guys understand what is the mafia, the mob?
Can hear you, Victor.
You know what mafioso? They lend you money. It's at a very high interest rate. And if you don't pay it back, they'll break your legs. You know what I'm talking about? That's loan sharking. That's loan sharking. Charging an illegally high rate of interest. Okay. We'll leave out the part about breaking of legs or bones. Okay. When charging an illegally high rate of interest is loan sharking. It's illegal. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
Usury laws prevent loan sharking. That's charging an unreasonably high rate of interest to a private lender.
With the private lender, you said,
I'm a
right?
private lender, so if I'm, look, I'm lending you money, you're gonna pay me back at 200% interest and I need it by next week, I'm gonna break your neck, that's, that's loan sharking, okay? Now, forget about the breaking of the neck and the threats, right? Usury is charging an illegally high rate of interest by a private lender like the mafia, some guy he's got some money he's gonna lend you, but you better pay it back, you know what I'm saying?
So if somebody was that asked to borrow money from me and that's when they had to pay it back at an interest rate, that's not loan sharking. That's just
Interest rate you charge.
is how much interest rate I charge.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, do you want to know what the state of New Jersey considers not to be sharking?
What
What
percentage?
they consider an acceptable interest rate? I got it right here at the bottom of the slide. In New Jersey, seller financing, sellers can charge no more than 16% interest on the first mortgage. However, if they're selling you their primary residence, they could charge you as much as 30% and it's not considered loan sharking. 30% interest is not loan sharking. Yeah, right? Person's
Sellers
statistical,
may charge
right?
two more
That's
16%
crazy.
mortgage.
But that's when you're selling your own primary residence. It's not considered usury. You know what the crazier part is? This is for you as a private lender lending someone money or giving them seller financing. You could charge as much as 30% when you're financing the sale of your own house. You know the crazy part is though? These rules do not apply to institutional lenders. The banks.
Mm-hmm.
Any lender that's in any way, shape, or form related to the federal government, usury laws don't apply to them. Usury laws only apply to private parties. Look, what does it say here in the book? Let me see. Various state laws protect borrowers. The federal government, in an effort to make mortgage money freely available, has exempted most regular lending institutions from mortgage limits. Two private sources for mortgage money, however, are bound by state usury laws. Sellers who take back financing or hold a mortgage, and third parties, real estate broker, grandfather, investor, who may lend the buyer money to purchase someone else's property. So basically private lenders. Private lenders usury laws are only applied to them, but any lending institution that in any way, shape, or form is related to the federal government, meaning that they're insured by their depositors' money is insured by the FDIC or FSLIC, or they're planning on selling those loans to the federal government, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, what have you. They are exempt from the usury laws. So, I got a video for you to see, explaining to you what usury is. Now, this is a great video. It's actually it's only a small segment of a 47-minute long movie that a guy made. He's a world economist. He made up this movie about how lending works in the United States and throughout the world. And he goes over a lot of things. And he does it in a dumbed down, simple explanation way that anybody can understand it. And he made the movie in cartoon form. So I think every kid should see this before they could graduate high school. They should be required to watch this movie, this documentary called Money is Debt.
Money is
Okay, so let me switch to the computer audio so that you can hear it. And let me minimize our videos so that it does not stumble for you at all. And let me make sure the volume's up here. And watch this video on usury.
At one time, charging any interest on a loan was called usury and was subject to severe penalties, including death. every major religion forbade usury. Most of the arguments made against the practice were moral. It was held that money's only legitimate purpose was to facilitate the exchange of real goods and services. Any form of making money from simply having money was regarded as the act of a parasite or of a thief.
John. So that was just a little clip from this, talking about usury. Did you guys know that? That every major religion out there considered charging interest from simply having money, making money from simply having money, was the act of a parasite or a thief. So most religions forbade it. They don't allow it. Now, over time, some religions loosened up their views on usury because they know that it's needed to facilitate the lending and borrowing for everyday services these days. But still, some religions find it's against their religion still to this day to pay interest. I've had people in my class that they barked out right off the bat. They're like, interest, it's against my religion. And I started laughing at the guy. I was like, yeah, you and me, buddy. It's against my religion. I don't want to pay interest either, you know. But he was dead serious. He's like, no, I don't pay interest. And I was like, well, how do you get a loan to buy anything? And he's like, well, we have our ways. We get it from we get the loans from our religious leaders or investors that work with us, you know. And this is exactly what I was teaching anyway. But he was telling me the example because I was curious about how he does it, you know. But do you know that even today, devout Jews, you know, like the Hasidic Jews, it's against their religion to pay interest. Or Muslims, it's against their religion to pay interest. So how do they get a loan to buy a house?
That's I asking.
Well, they get them either from their religious leaders who lend them money at 0% interest. Now they have to pay back that money on a monthly mortgage, but interest free. So they could end up paying it back a lot sooner if you don't got to pay interest, right? If you're just paying back the principal, that's all you pay back. You could pay it back a lot sooner, right? So what is in it for this religious leader or an investor? There's investors out there too that will lend money at 0% interest for you to buy a house. What's in it for them? Is that a question that's on your head?
Yes.
You guys want me to answer it?
Yes.
They become co-owners with you on your property.
I was gonna think that they probably have a piece.
Sell that property. When you sell it at a profit, they split the profit with you. Or you split the profit with them. Okay? So they lend you the money to buy the house. You got to pay back by making the mortgage payments until it's paid off. But eventually, when you sell off that property, if you sell it at a profit, you're splitting that profit with them. We call it shared equity mortgage. Shared equity mortgage. Okay, that's the type of loan where an investor will loan you money at 0% interest, but they become co-owners with you on that property. So when you sell it at some future date at a profit, they split the profit with you. Okay. So by the way, that movie Usury, I'm going to show you another later in this chapter, about 15 minutes of it, either this chapter or next chapter. I'm going to show you about 15 minutes of that 47-minute movie to find out how lending really works in the world. So imputed interest. Okay, so we learned about usury. Usury, you cannot charge an illegally high rate of interest if you're a private lender. But if you're a private lender and you charge too low an interest, the IRS can step in, impute their higher interest rate, and tax you accordingly so they get their fair share.
Oh.
Go to IRS.
Damn IRS again. Another reason to abolish that agency. Okay. So, but check this out. They're not going after rich people. This only applies to transactions of $2.8 million or less. The IRS says the lender must charge at least 9% interest rate or an amount equal to the applicable AFR, whichever is lower. Currently, the applicable AFR, that's the applicable federal rate, is currently lower than 9%. Because if it was at 9% and the lender wanted to make any money, they got to charge you more than that. The applicable federal rate is the cost of money to the lender. So if the applicable federal rate is 2% and the lender wants to make 2% off of lending you money, they got to charge you 4%. Because the cost of the money that they're lending to you is 2%. Now, why does a lender have a cost to lending you money? Well, because lenders are members of a central bank. You guys ever hear of the Federal Reserve?
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve is the central bank here in the United States. And they set all the rules for bankers, and they insure them. So everyone who is a lender in the United States is a member of the Federal Reserve. It's the Federal Reserve has nothing to do with the federal government, contrary to popular belief and its name. The Federal Reserve is just a central bank where all lenders that operate in lending in the United States are members of. And they have each other's backs. They lend money. And if any of them should, they lend money, they borrow money. Look, we have a bank account. You deposit your money in a bank. Anybody ever go to their bank? They just stopped by their bank and wanted to withdraw a large amount of money. And the bank said, oh, you can't do that. We don't have that kind of money here. You have to schedule an appointment. Did that ever?
Right, yeah, yeah.
Okay. What do you mean they don't have your money? I gave you the money. It's in your bank. You have your money. You notice that most banks these days, they're not like olden day banks that have those huge vaults and armed guards and security cameras and all that stuff anymore. Banks carry small amounts of money. If you want to go to the bank today, you're probably an idiot because they don't have money in them. Are you going to risk going to jail for a long sentence to get a couple $1,000? Okay, that's what they start with. They open their drawers and they have a couple $1,000 there so that they could do the banking business throughout the day. But banks don't have all your money at your branch. Okay, so what do you call it if you had a large amount of the depositors who kept their money at a bank all rush to the bank and demand their money back at the same time, your lender does not have that money. They probably lent it out. It's probably at one of their central locations too. We call this a run on the bank, and it's the banker's worst nightmare. Okay, to have all their depositors come in and demand their money back. Okay, I'm going to show you a video that's going to explain this to you so you understand it in a little simpler form. But if you've ever experienced that going to the bank, you know what I'm talking about. You know, they don't have your money, your cash on hand. There is a cost of lending. There's a way that they do business now. So no prepayment penalties are allowed in New Jersey if you pay off your loan sooner than planned. So you get a mortgage loan to buy a house. You got a 30-year loan. If you pay it off in 20 years, no prepayment penalties are allowed because you prepaid the loan in advance before the 30 years. The lender cannot penalize you and charge you fees for paying it off sooner than what you agreed to in your loan terms when you got the loan. So you need to know this will be on exams. No prepayment penalties allowed in New Jersey. Just study it. No prepayment penalties allowed in New Jersey. No prepayment penalties allowed in New Jersey if you pay off your loan sooner than its original ending date, right? So what we actually highlight in the book, though, says New Jersey prepayment fees or penalties may not be charged by institutional lenders
That means banks and
if
stuff.
that loan is paid off earlier than originally planned. All right, so what's an institutional lender? It's a federally related loan. It's any loan that's related to the federal government in any way, shape, or form. It's not a private lender. Private lenders are allowed to charge prepayment penalties. But
I'm sorry, can you repeat one more time?
private lenders are allowed to charge prepayment fees or penalties.
Not allowed, right?
They are allowed,
They are.
but institutional lenders like the banks are not.
Okay. And prepayment, they are not private lenders.
No, prepayment is when you pay off the loan sooner than originally planned. That's what prepayment is. You have institutional lenders and you have private lenders. Private lenders be lending you money. I'm not a bank, but if I lend you money and we agree on certain loan terms, I could charge you prepayment penalties if you pay me back sooner. That only applies to private lenders for like commercial loans and things of that nature. But institutional lenders like banks or any lending institution that's insured by the federal government, or they plan on selling their loans to the federal government, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or insured by the FHA or guaranteed by the VA, they cannot charge any prepayment penalties if you pay off those loans sooner than originally planned. Okay, everybody got that highlighted?
Yes.
And that's what you need to see for exams. No prepayment penalties allowed in New Jersey, even though I told you technically there are situations where you can charge prepayment penalties, but not by banks or those types of lenders, only by private lenders. So, let me make a note about that. What page is that on? Page 260?
260.
Okay. So, first and second mortgage lien priority. What establishes the priority of loans?
What's the question?
What establishes the priority of a lien of a loan? What determines
the promise to pay?
what determines who gets paid back first? The priority of a loan. But what determines the priority of a loan?
The mortgage.
The date of recording of the lien in the public records.
What? The date?
The date of recording of that lien in the public records. Okay, that sets the priority of the lien position in the repayment order. Who recorded their lien first in the public records? With the exception of two things: taxes, because taxes always jump to the front of the line, and a mechanic's lien, right? Which can be retroactively backdated to when the work was done or the materials were delivered. So the priority is based on the date of recording in the public records. And this is important because in the event of foreclosure, loans are paid off from the proceeds according to their priority until there's no funds left. And then any other liens that are left over still, they get wiped out. Home equity loans are often a form of second mortgage loan.
I'm sorry?
I just said home equity loans are often a second mortgage.
Mortgage. Home equity loans are often a second mortgage loan.
Yep, you didn't get that. So First and second mortgage, subordination agreement. What is a subordinate? What is a subordinate? Look, if you work for me, are you my subordinate?
It's like supporting you, right?
You work under me, right? That's
Yeah,
a
so supporting. Yeah.
it begins with sub. Sub means beneath, like a submarine. Marine is water, under the water. Submarine, right? Subordination agreement. What is a subordination agreement when we talk about mortgage loans? The first lender agrees to subordinate or drop in the lien repayment order. So the first loan becomes a second in the lien repayment order. Why would somebody who has a primary lien position agree to drop back in the lien repayment order? Isn't it the whole idea that they wanted to be the first lien repayment order? So in the event of foreclosure, they get paid back first?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is a situation where a primary lien holder will drop in the lien repayment order, becoming subordinate to another. And this is usually when somebody's getting a home improvement loan. Because that home improvement loan is much smaller than the loan that was used to buy the property. And that loan is going to be used to make improvements to increase the value of that collateral property anyway. So it's little risk to the lender that holds a primary lien position to drop back in the lien repayment order under this much smaller loan. Because in the event that they don't get paid back and they have to foreclose, they're going to get paid back the little money that's owed to them. And then that big loan, the major loan behind them, they'll get back the rest. And because that loan was used to increase the value of the property anyway, it's not a big threat. That's why it's okay. You understand the concept where that would take place? Is that clear in that? Okay. So let's just highlight now in the book. I'm sorry. These buttons are getting sensitive. You guys hear me? Hello, hello, hello.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, the buttons are getting weird. I gotta keep moving the Zoom controls around. Sometimes I touch the microphone button and mute myself. So a subordination agreement, the holder of the first mortgage would drop in their lien priority.
The holder of the first mortgage would then drop back in priority. I didn't get it.
Well, that's usually done for home improvement loans. But if you're a first lien holder, you get paid back first. If you sign a subordination agreement, you agree to allow another lien holder to jump ahead of you. That lien holder would usually be a home improvement loan.
Home improvement loan.
Smaller loan than yours, so there's no threat of them completely wiping you out in the event of foreclosure. And the purpose of that loan was to improve the value of the property anyway, right? To make improvements to the property. So it's not much of a threat. So first lien holders will usually have no problem with allowing another lender to jump ahead of them.
Later mortgage to move up. This is sometimes done allow further financing when the first lender feels the additional loan would benefit all concerned. So for home improvement, the subordinates agreement, we have to go to different lender or same lender?
Different lender.
Different lender, right?
It would be a different lender that you go to get a home improvement loan.
I see.
Right?
Home improvement loan.
So when all payments have been made and the note is paid in, the mortgagee, the lender, is usually required to execute a release of mortgage or satisfaction of mortgage, as the lender is required to do per the defeasance clause. So highlight that and then write that beneath it, as the lender is required to do per the defeasance clause.
Oh, this is in the bottom. very bottom.
Oh, it is? Not much room for that?
Yeah, we have room, but it's the last line in
Yeah.
the page.
Well, it's only one.
Okay.
You got it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the lender
Lender is required to do
do
per the defeasance clause.
or the defeasance of
DEFEASANCE.
clause, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the lender required to do for satisfaction of mortgage? Got it.
Right.
Oh, the big thing we have to, should we write it down? Deduction certificate does the
You don't
same
need to write
thing.
all this. These are my notes here. I had them on the previous slide talking about the reduction certificate, the one with the reduction and estoppel certificate. I'm just explaining what a reduction certificate is here
I
again.
see.
So you don't have to write all that down. So the satisfaction of mortgage lien is a document that's recorded in the public records by the lender stating that the loan has been satisfied and repaid in full. The lender has no further claim on the property. It is the defeasance clause that requires the lender by law to record a satisfaction of mortgage lien in the public records once the borrower paid off the loan. Now, assuming a seller's mortgage loan is basically taking over someone else's loan payments, the primary mortgagor never gives up liability to pay it back. So if I am able to sell my house without paying the loan off in full, you could assume my mortgage. That means you could just take over my mortgage payments. But if you fail in making the mortgage payments, I'm still liable to make them to the lender. It's kind of like a lease when you sublease, right? If the person you're subleasing to doesn't make the lease payments, you're still liable for it because you're the primary lessee, right? So it's the same kind of scenario, but with loans.
So he's taking over someone else's loan.
Yep. Just taking over the loan. But most loans, you can't. Most loans are not assumable. Most loans have a clause in them called the alienation clause. An alienation clause is also known as the resale or due on sale clause in the note. It states that upon the transfer of ownership, whether you sell it or give it away, the loan has to be repaid in full. The purpose of this is to prevent you from letting someone just take over your mortgage payments, especially if it's at a lower interest rate than they currently get if they were to go out and try to get a loan today on their own. You see why the lenders do this? The lenders want you to go out and get a new loan at the current higher interest rates because that's how they make money.
Right.
Right? So they put this clause in the note for most of the loans that are out there called the alienation clause, which is also known as the resale or due on sale clause, that says when you sell the property, you resell it, the loan is due on sale. You got to pay it back in full upon. And the purpose is to prevent someone else from assuming your loan, especially if it's at a lower interest rate. If it was at a higher interest rate, I bet they wouldn't give a crap. Interest rate, whoa, you're taking money out of their pockets. So loans without an alienation clause can be taken over, assumed by the owner, who could just continue making the payments on the existing loan. This could be beneficial if that loan is at a lower interest rate than is currently available to those who get new loans in the current market. And the new owner will qualify for the loan or pay any closing costs or loan application fees or appraisal fees or anything like that. The loan's already in existence. They're just taking it over. However, most new assumable loans do require the new owner to be qualified, just to make sure that you're not going to be at risk of defaulting on it. So there are still loans in existence out there that are assumable. Like most FHA and VA loans are assumable loans. So they don't have an alienation clause in them. Or the alienation clause has a little, it says that the property can be, the loan can be assumed. It's just that the new borrower needs to qualify for it.
Oh,
Okay, but they don't have to pay any loan origination fees or appraisal fees or application fees or any nonsense like that. Okay. So we'll highlight this in the book. And we're going to write next to the title, alienation clause, we're going to write due on sale clause. I know it says it in the paragraph beneath it, but just write it next to the title. Due on sale clause. Because you need to know, that could be an exam question all on its own. What do we call the clause in the note that prevents a loan from being assumed? That could be either alienation, due on sale, or resale clause. Or you could get a question on exam. The alienation clause that prevents a loan from being assumed by future buyers is also known as the due on sale clause. Or they can put it the other way, and they could say a due on sale clause that prevents a loan from being assumed is also known as the alienation clause.
it's a resale clause also, right? Resale.
Yep. So when we actually do the highlighting, you'll highlight alienation clause, also known as the resale clause or due on sale clause in the note.
Oh, does it say that?
Yeah.
1 minute. Oh yeah, resale. Got
Okay.
it.
Everybody got those highlights and notes?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right. So foreclosure. Everybody good? Everybody got that notes from the last one, or you need me to go back? Raphael, you
I'm
good?
done. Good.
I got it. I got it.
Okay, now foreclosure. I put together a slide here that explains foreclosure. So, when the borrower defaults in any of the obligations of the mortgage, this may result in foreclosure. The lender typically gives a borrower 30 days to cure any default and get caught up, right? Then a lis pendens is recorded in the public records as a public notice of possible future legal action, which is the foreclosure against the property.
Hmm.
In New Jersey, foreclosure is a judicial process and must go before the courts. So foreclosure is a legal process of a lien holder, the lender, taking ownership of a property which has been pledged as collateral for the loan through the court action. It's like I have no punctuation here anymore. What's going on here? Oh, I got a period in my thing, but it's not on this slide. Oh, wait, there it is. That's weird. Oh, down here. Where that?
Yeah, that's weird.
All right. Like one giant run-on sentence. Okay, so so foreclosure is the legal process of a lien holder, the lender, taking ownership of a property which has been pledged as collateral for the loan through court action. The first step of starting foreclosure is enacting the acceleration clause in the note, which calls the entire debt due and owing immediately. Then the lender may ask the court to order a foreclosure sale, also known as an auction or sheriff's sale. So before a sheriff's sale can take place, all interested parties, including the renters, need to be made aware that the foreclosure is in progress. This sometimes creates a problem for an owner who's trying to get caught up on their payments to avoid foreclosure if those tenants then stop paying rent. Sometimes you get tenants that they get this attitude now because they're notified, oh, by the way, the homeowner that you're renting from is in danger of foreclosure. So they're like, well, if they ain't paying rent, why should I pay mine? Right? And that attitude then starts to really like put the last nail in the coffin for the homeowner for their last chance of trying to redeem themselves and get caught up on their payments. So this is why when I get involved, I tell that homeowner, if you got tenants that are, if you're in danger of foreclosure and your tenants are not paying their rent because they've been notified that you're in danger of foreclosure, start eviction. File the court paperwork to evict them. It's still your house. They need to pay you the bills because they're living in your house. They don't get to live there rent free. And if they're going to try to screw with your finances, you screw with theirs. You're going to destroy their credit report by them having a eviction on their credit record. So now if they ever try to rent somewhere else, they're going to get screwed. And you tell them that. You tell them, if you don't pay your rent, I'm going down to the courthouse first thing tomorrow, and I'm going to file for eviction for your non-payment of rent. And it's going to file you with your credit report. I'm trying to get caught up on my bills so that I can avoid foreclosure, and you're screwing me over. So I'm going to get you the hell out, and I'm going to screw you over by doing that to your credit. Okay. And hopefully that'll be enough to get them to start paying you again. Okay. But if you stick it to them, don't you go follow through with those threats, you know? So if those tenants then stop paying their rent, you know, it's really going to put you in a worse financial position. So the owner could take immediate action to evict the tenants who created these problems, and they should right away. Then a sheriff's sale needs to be advertised in a local newspaper for 4 weeks and a paper in Trenton.
What is that cell needs? Tariffs. The last line. Then a tariff cell needs to be advertised.
In the local papers and in a paper in Trenton.
Yeah, I got it.
So how does the sheriff's sale, that auction, how does that go down? How does that work?
What does
Well,
auction tell?
the person who's getting foreclosed on could delay that sheriff's sale twice, 2 weeks each, for a maximum of a month. And then they could also ask their lender, the mortgagee, to delay it 2 times, 2 weeks each time, for a month. So 2 months total. How long does it, on average, does it take to sell a house, to close a house? With a typical sale? No rush?
6 months.
2 months, 60 days. So you could delay a sheriff's sale long enough to sell the house. So if somebody comes to me and tells me they're getting notices from their lender that they're going to foreclose on them, and they got to go to court for a foreclosure hearing or whatever, I'm going to ask them, did you get any documents yet from a sheriff's department saying that they scheduled the sheriff's sale, or from the lender, or from the court saying that they scheduled the sheriff's sale yet? No?
That's all.
Good. Good. Because if they haven't yet, I suggest that you go to court and try to delay the sheriff's sale, or to delay the court hearing. The longer you can delay that, the longer I have to try to sell your property. We could put it on the market for sale, try to find a buyer, but you can try to delay the hearing as much as you can until you can't delay it no more. So don't just take those letters from the court and throw them on the table. Open them up, respond to them, ask for a rescheduling of the date for the court hearing. this creates time, gives you additional time to draw out the process. That gives me more time to try to market the property and find a buyer. And then once we do find a buyer that makes an acceptable offer, we could delay the sale twice, and we could get the lender to delay the sale twice for a grand total of 2 months, so that we can successfully close on the sale. And then there's no foreclosure on your record. And you could end up getting a little profit from the sale instead of the sheriff's department selling it at rock bottom prices. So the bidder must pay cash at these auctions, at least 20% at the auction, and the balance has to be paid within 10 days, at which time the sheriff's deed is going to be given to that buyer. That sheriff's deed, there's no such thing called a sheriff's deed. It's called a bargain and sales deed. It just says,
Auction.
it says sheriff's deed on top. Yeah. When you go to that auction, the foreclosure auction, and you get a property at the auction, after 10 days, the sheriff's department will give you a deed to the property. They call it, it says sheriff's deed on top, but there's no actual deed called a sheriff's deed. It just says that on top. The actual deed that you're getting is called a bargain and sale deed, or a straight bargain and sale deed.
Why don't say use auction?
Well, we're going to learn about different types of deeds later on in chapter
Okay.
15. And a bargain and sale type deed is one where the person who gives you a bargain and sale type deed, they're saying, we're not guaranteeing you the quality of the title. We're just guaranteeing you that we have the right to sell it.
Okay.
Okay, so then you could buy a property at a sheriff's auction, and there could still be other liens on it. You got mechanics liens or unpaid tax liens or whatever.
Right.
Okay. So the bargain and sale deed says, we're not guaranteeing you that there's no other liens or the quality of the title. We're just guaranteeing that we have the legal right to sell you the property. And we're doing it on behalf of the lender. Okay. Once that sheriff's deed is delivered after that 10 days and that balance is paid to the successful bidder, up until that happens, the mortgagor can repay all outstanding fees and redeem their property before the end of that 10 days when the sheriff's deed is delivered. But after the sheriff's deed is delivered and that bidder pays the balance off, there's no further right of redemption that exists in New Jersey. You lost the property. Now, if you lost the property at a sheriff's deed because you stopped making your mortgage payments and it got foreclosed on, but you had most of the home paid off, the lender gets the money that was required to pay off the balance that they were owed. What happens to any excess balance that there may be? It goes to the homeowner. That's their equity.
Yep, that's right.
You've been paying off the loan for years, right? That's your equity that you have. Look, you could have had, right? You paid off 400,000 of it. You were only owing 100,000 still. But you stopped making your mortgage payments because you lost your job. But you only paid off $400,000. You paid off the majority of that loan. So they sell that property at auction for a bottom price of 400 or 300,000, a ridiculously low amount of money, right? The lender gets 100,000, there's still $200,000 profit that goes back to the homeowner. See, this is why it's always good for a homeowner that even if their property is in danger of foreclosure, that they reach out to a real estate agent to help them. Because that real estate agent knows of ways that we could delay this auction. We could delay, and try to sell the property before a foreclosure sale to get you as much profit as possible out of that property. So you could still walk away with a decent profit, instead of it selling at an auction at a rock bottom price and you losing out on a lot of the equity that you built up over the years in that property to pay off a small balance that you're getting foreclosed over.
So foreclosure, your credit goes down a lot, right?
Yeah, well, it's an auction. Why do people go to auctions? To get stuff cheaper.
Cheaper.
Right? So they get houses cheaper at the auctions. It is true. They don't care how much it sells for. They just care they get enough money to pay off the lender, what's owed to the lender.
Yep.
Now that's not right for us, because if we're the homeowner and we have a lot of equity built in it, we're getting screwed out of our equity. But they don't care. Their job is to sell it as quick as possible to get just enough money to pay off the lender. If there's anything else in excess to that, well, that's great, and that goes to the homeowner. That goes back to the homeowner. That's their equity. Okay. Now, not every property has equity that goes to a sheriff's auction, but a lot of them do. And we could help those homeowners out if they come to us early enough. So you could explain this, you could plead this, you could even make this video like what I'm explaining right now. You could make a video like this and put it on your own real estate websites, and then send out a postcard to people on list pendants lists who are behind in their mortgage payments, and have them put a link there to the video so that they could watch the video where you explain to them how this process can work and how it's in their best interest to reach out to you and list their property with you now to try to sell it before they get screwed over.
Mhm.
I'm giving you some ideas on marketing here to get listings too. These are a little more stressful because they're sheriff sales and you got strict timelines, and hey, you know, with the hustle, if the money is there for you to make if you hustle. And plus you're helping people out. Think of it that way. You're on a mission to help people because you're actually helping these homeowners that have fallen on hardships and financial difficulties, right? You know, you have no control over whether they're getting foreclosed or not, but you can help them in that process to avoid it, depending where they are in the foreclosure process, you know?
Mhm.
But we, as the real estate professionals, have the tools that we can help them with these problems that they're facing today. And this is a perfect example. And if you guys take a slide like this and you build out that spiel and you sell it to them and you explain to them how we could be actually legitimately there to help you. We're not there to screw you over just for commission. We can help you get money still. Sure, I get money because I'm working hard for you to do this. And you're paying for my knowledge and my ability to do this for you to avoid that foreclosure. All right, I'm done trying to sell it. All right.
Mhm.
You guys here in the book, page 262 for foreclosure. Let's just do these highlights. And I made a little note here that sheriff's deed isn't really a sheriff's deed, but a bargain and sale deed. It just has the words sheriff's deed on top.
Where?
So you're on page 262. This is where this is, page 262, under foreclosure.
Bargain and sales deed.
Done this before to help people. Tell me it works. Yeah, you guys got it? Working on it? It's
On
a
top.
bargain and sale, says sheriff's deed on top.
Okay, got it.
All right. All right. So page 262 as well. The next section, deed in Indian. What does deed in mean? Once again, that's not French, it is Latin. And it is an alternative to foreclosure. So a deed is instead of
Is
foreclosure.
Victor is breaking up so much.
It is?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got no control over that. I got all the settings set properly. It's probably either the Zoom app or your internet connection. I don't know. Mine seems,
Happen after 3 p.m. So your computer get tired probably.
No, I'm just okay.
Listening to me.
Okay.
Can you hear me, or is it still all broken up? Is it bad?
It's broken up. Yeah.
After lunch, last 1 hour is like too much, right?
No.
Yeah,
The
but it's okay.
best we could do is finish this chapter, which we're almost done with, and then we could close the Zoom meeting and then restart the app, and maybe that'll help.
Right. That might be gonna help. Yeah, definitely.
Let's try that. Okay. So let's finish this first. Okay. If you need me to repeat something, just tell me.
Yeah.
And okay. But a deed in lieu of foreclosure, it's an alternative to foreclosure. So the mortgagor is the
Borrower.
they sign the deed back over to the lender, the mortgagee. This is known as friendly foreclosure because they're just signing the ownership and giving the ownership back to the lender. They don't have to go through the whole court system and the whole process of foreclosure through the courts. This is where a deed in lieu of foreclosure is where the borrower just signs the deed over to the lender, giving them the ownership of the property. So it's known as friendly foreclosure because it's by agreement rather than an action through the courts. So there's no foreclosure reported on your credit. There's no foreclosure actually happened. You just gave the ownership back to the lender. Everybody follow me so far?
Oh, to the bank, right? The bank or whatever the finance institution.
Lender.
Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, you can do that too? Hmm.
Be able to. Sometimes the lender will reach out to the borrower, the homeowner, and offer them to accept taking back a deed in lieu of foreclosure. Now, the lender is taking a risk by doing this, okay? Because foreclosure would have wiped out any other liens. And because this is not going through foreclosure, the lender may be agreeing to take back the property and there's additional liens on it. So that's a risk the lender's taking.
Yeah.
Now, if the lender manages to resell that property within 90 days of you signing the ownership back over to them, and they're able to resell the property, then they've experienced the loss. And only at that point can they try to go to the court and get a deficiency judgment award from you for the balance that they were unable to collect that you owe. So that usually does not happen, but it could. I've had people that I was doing short sales for, trying to avoid a foreclosure. A short sale is a pre-foreclosure. We're trying to avoid the foreclosure process. Trying to sell their property in the market, and the lender called the owner of the property a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So I have to explain to them what a deed in lieu of foreclosure is and how it's different than a short sale, what the difference is, and that there's still a risk in both. I told them, contact your lender and ask them if you do sign the deed back over to them, will they give you a satisfaction of lien? Will they sign a satisfaction of lien and add it to the public records so that they're not going to chase after you for any deficiencies?
Oh, wow. Okay.
I already knew the answer to the question. It's no. The lender will not do that.
Of course not.
Because if they manage to resell that property within 90 days and they experience a loss, a deficiency in what you owe them, they're going to try to get a deficiency judgment and chase after you to pay off that balance. Okay? It's not usually done, but I've seen it done, so it can happen. So a short sale, if I were able to sell your property through a short sale, instead of you giving the lien back to the property, instead of signing the ownership, the deed back over to the lender, if I were able to sell your property in a short sale, I'm going to negotiate with your lender to accept an amount less than you owe them. You follow that? if I could successfully sell your property and find a buyer, I'm going to negotiate with the homeowner's lender to accept less than what the homeowner owes them on the mortgage loan.
Mhm.
Now, if there's only one property, they cannot chase after you for any deficiency.
Back up that sentence. We ain't hear nothing.
If there's only one property and I do a short sale on your property, I negotiate with your lender to accept whatever lesser amount than what is owed to them,
Mhm.
not going to chase after you for a deficiency, because I'm going to get them to sign a satisfaction of mortgage lien.
Okay. Where they said they don't have to own whatever they
So they're not going to chase after you. Their lenders
put a
are
balance.
to accept less than what you owe them.
Mhm.
Okay? If I could pull that off, if you're a homeowner and you're behind your mortgage payments, you're in danger of foreclosure. And I tell you, I could sell your property for less than you owe your lender, and I'm going to negotiate with your lender to accept that lower amount and not chase after you for any deficiency. Will that give you a share and so
Repeat,
That was
please. Can you please repeat?
was it
Can
a
you please?
question?
this again. I'm breaking up on your side, right? So let's
Break
put
it up.
if I'm a real estate agent and you are a homeowner
Mhm.
and you can only sell that property for less than what you the lender.
Right.
We're all still on the same page. Everybody get that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I sell your property for less than what you owe your lender. I negotiate with your lender to accept that amount and be happy with it.
Mhm.
They're not going to
Sir.
chase you for any deficiencies.
Mhm.
You following me so far? Lamar, you got this? You're shaking your head. You got it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
If I can sell your property for less than what you owe and let your lender be happy with it and agree not to chase after you for any more money,
Mhm.
do you find that valuable?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going in foreclosure, so that's not going on my credit.
You're not going to have a foreclosure, but it does affect your credit because you're already behind on your mortgage payments, and it's be negatively affected your credit, but your credit can only get better from this point forward.
I see.
Now, what if I also tell you that I can negotiate with your lender that if I do this, that I'm going to negotiate with your lender to pay for your attorney's fee because you're going to need an attorney to help you with this. Would you find that valuable?
Yes.
What if I were to also tell you that if I could pull this off, I'm going to negotiate with your lender to pay my commission? Would you find that valuable?
Yes.
Now,
That's not coming out of my pocket.
tell you that depending on where your lender got the money from to loan to you when you bought the house, depending on where they got those funds from, it may be possible for me to get you $3,000 to $5,000 that the lender will give you that money to work with them to sell your home so that you can relocate and get out of there and not be sticking around. Would you find that useful?
Yes.
It's okay. Yeah.
I could do all of these things.
Mhm.
Now, I can't guarantee the money part, but because that's dependent on where they got the money from.
Mhm.
But I could do all these things, and I've done it many times. It's very possible. Okay. Now, I need to negotiate with your lender, so there's no guarantees in anything, but it's very possible I could do all of this. I could sell your property for less than you owe, make your bank happy to get what they get. They're going to pay my commission. They're going to pay for your attorney's fee.
Attorney's fee.
Possibly give you up to $5,000 to get the hell out and relocate and find another place to live.
Sounds great.
Sounds great.
Mhm.
Well, I do it all the time. It's called a short sale.
Oh.
It's a major pain in the butt and a lot of work for me. So don't complain about how much I charge for commission. You're not paying it. I'm going to get your lender to. And that's how I talk to people too, by the way. Don't argue with me on the commission because you're not going to pay it. I'm going to get your lender to pay it. All right.
You're having trouble paying the mortgage.
That's right. This is why during the whole mortgage market meltdown, when property people were using properties to foreclosure and these short sales were going on, you had real estate agents that knew how to adapt to the changing business to learn how to do the short sales. They were making more money than they ever did before. Because they're telling homeowners, "I'm charging commission, I can charge you as much as I want because you're not going to pay it. Get your lender to pay it. You're going to pay 6% a day. So that's what I'm charging you. Don't complain about it. It ain't coming out of your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So short sale is much better than foreclosure.
Yeah, anything's better than foreclosure. Short sale, they're both better than foreclosure. They're both alternatives to foreclosure. But I can't guarantee that your lender is going to accept an offer that comes in. I can't guarantee that an offer is going to come in that's acceptable. We could try. That's just like a lender is not going to guarantee that they're not going to chase after you for a deficiency judgment if they accept a deed in lieu of foreclosure. But they're both better than foreclosure. Now, what is a deficiency judgment? Because I keep throwing this term around. Well, what does it mean when you're deficient? It means you're short, right? You're deficient, you're short. So a deficiency judgment means you were short in paying the lender back, right? So what is a deficiency judgment? Well, what is a court judgment? A judgment is where a judge says, you owe that person money. So a deficiency judgment says, well, you owe this person $100,000, but you only paid them back $50,000, so you were short paying them $50,000. So the court's going to owe them $50,000 deficiency judgment. That's what a deficiency judgment is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But if we do a short sale, there's going to be no deficiency judgment because I'm going to get your lender to sign a document that says that it's a satisfaction of lien that says that you paid less than what was owed, but it's paid settled. Okay, so that's actually how a short sale reflects on your credit report. It says paid settled less than full amount owed, but it's settled. If you can work with your creditors, it shows that you're doing something positive. Instead of ignoring them, you worked with your creditors to come up with a settlement that was agreeable to you both. So now your credit score increases from this day forward as long as you pay all your other bills on time. Okay?
But history gonna say it that you had the short sale in your history?
It says that you had a loan that was paid, settled, less than full amount owed. But it was settled. That's a good thing. That's positive in the creditor's eye because you worked with the creditors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the last thing is an REO. REO is stands for real estate owned. It's real estate that's owned by the bank. The property was foreclosed by the lender took possession of it, and now it's a bank-owned property with no other liens on it. The bank owns it free and clear with no lien. Okay, that's what an REO property is. It's a bank-owned property.
How do they get
Banks don't usually sell these properties on their own. They can, but they usually don't. They usually reach out to a real estate agent to list them to sell for them through their asset managers. So banks have somebody who's called an asset manager that manages all their foreclosed properties that would then hire a real estate agent to sell them. So you got to find out who those asset managers are, make nice with them, and hopefully you'll get business from them. All right. And so let's do the highlights for these things that we just went over, and then we're done with this chapter. But at the end of this chapter, I got a couple of interesting videos for you talking about the mortgage, at least the note part of the mortgage, and how you could delay foreclosure.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Real, where are you?
Yep.
Real estate.
REO is real estate owned. That's a bank owned property. That's all it is. With no
Bank.
liens on
A question, please.
them. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so deficiency, the judgment. So you say when after the foreclosure, so the bank they came to you and asking for more money?
Yes, because if they sell your property at the auction, but it wasn't enough to pay back all the money you borrowed. Remember, when you borrowed that, you took out a mortgage loan. The mortgage is a promise to pay, but there's also the note, and the note made you personally liable for the full amount you borrowed. Right?
Uh-huh.
So they can chase after you for that deficiency in the amount that they did not get paid back.
But I thought once it go on foreclosure, the liens and stuff go away no, that's the tax property.
If it's enough to pay them back, but if it's not enough, the lender can chase after you for the balance that they weren't able to recoup.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's the note is the document that allows them to chase after you for that balance.
Mm.
Don't worry. In a couple seconds, you're gonna feel a lot more relieved after this. I'm gonna give you some information here. It's gonna be interesting. But all right, let's start this again. Let's do that key terms to review. We only did one so far, so let's just start it again. Lender. Who is the lender? The lender is known as
The mortgagee.
the mortgagee. 11 is A. And pledging of property as security without surrendering possession of that property. A mortgage is an example of this.
Hypothecation.
Hypothecation, correct. Now,
Ooh.
a written pledge of real estate as security for a loan.
Written plea of real estate.
Yeah, what do we call that pledge? The promise. The
It's a
Note.
mortgage.
mortgage, the mortgage itself. There you go. 11 is A. Oh, wait.
C,
Ten.
C, 10. 10 is C.
10, we're on 10. 10 is C. The mortgage is C, correct. 10 is C. Property acquired by the lender. Let me keep my finger on it so I don't lose track here. Property acquired by the lender.
Mortgager. No.
Now, what do we call a bank-owned property?
Yeah.
Foreclosure? No.
No. Property acquired by
Oh,
lender.
the row property.
REO. Yes, the real estate owned by the bank. So 15 is D and REO. Real owned. Clause ensuring that after repayment, the lender has no claim on the property because you paid off the loan.
So that is
The loan, what did you do?
mortgager. I'm done
Oh, you
paying.
win. You win.
What's another word for win? That
Yeah.
you did what? You
The satisfaction of the mortgage?
defeated the loan. What sounds like defeated? The clause that sounds like defeated. You defeated the loan when you paid it off.
Deficiency judgment?
Satisfaction the mortgage.
Now,
I
the
said that.
clause, the
Deficiency clause, right?
defeasance clause, not deficiency, defeasance.
Defeasance, the five.
Yeah, so 5 is E. Yep, 5 is E, defeasance clause. Sounds
You
like
satisfied the loan, right?
Yeah.
You satisfied.
When you defeated the loan, you paid it off, you satisfied the loan, you defeated it. Sounds like defeated. Defeasance clause is the clause in the note that requires the lender to go back to the public records and record a satisfaction of mortgage lien. Okay, that's the clause that requires that. The defeat, it's the clause that says the lender has no further claim on the property. So 5 is E, the defeasance clause.
So what's
The statement of how much remains on the mortgage debt.
that's the note?
A better statement that says how much remains on the mortgage debt, what the original loan amount was, what the interest rate was. You know, when a lender,
Estoppel certificate.
the estoppel certificate, when the lender sells that loan, they want you to sign an estoppel certificate. So 7,
Yes.
a court order that the borrower pay money lost by the lender after foreclosure.
Court orders that borrower.
Talking about it.
Court order, borrower pay money.
Yeah, what do you call that court order that the borrower pays more money to the lender even after foreclosure? When the lender wasn't able to get all their money back even after foreclosure.
Alienation clause.
Well, first of all, what do we call a court order to pay someone else something? It's a judgment. So
Deficiency
what-
judgment?
requires the borrower to pay money lost by the lender even after foreclosure.
Acceleration clause.
It's going to be some kind of a judgment. It's going to have judgment in the name.
Oh, deficiency
Deficiency.
judgment.
Deficiency judgment. You were
Deficiency.
paying them back all the money, so they got a deficiency judgment against you. 6 is G. Borrower. Who is the borrower?
Mortgager.
12 is H. A
12
clause.
is H.
Yep, 12 is H. A clause stating that if the
Yes.
property is sold, that the debt is immediately payable.
Foreclosure.
What do we
No.
call a clause? It's a clause.
Acceleration clause.
It's a clause that says when the property is sold or transfers ownership, that the entire debt is due and owing immediately. The purpose is to prevent the loan from being assumed by anybody.
Reduction certificate?
Is a note, bond,
Alienation clause.
alienation clause.
When you alienate yourself, what do? You're separating yourself from somebody, right? You're alienating yourself from the crowd of kids.
Mm.
You know, so you're separating yourself from them, right? So if you're, what is the purpose of the alienation clause in the note? It says that when the property changes ownership through alienation, alienation is the transfer of ownership or transfer of property.
Mm.
Loan needs to be paid off in full so that it cannot just be assumed by the next owner. It's also known as the due on sale clause in the note. So 2 is the alienation clause.
Oh yeah, that has different name, right?
Mhm.
Okay, proceeding to auction.
Proceeding to auction foreclosed real estate. What's another name for that proceeding to auction foreclosed real estate?
Sheriff's sale?
Yep, sheriff's sale is 18 is J. Charging higher interest than is allowed by law. Something the mafia used to do.
The usury.
Ah.
Usury,
Yeah, usury.
usually high rate of interest, correct. 20 is K, it is usury. Failure to live up to any part of a mortgage agreement.
Default?
You are now in default, my friend. 4 is L. The lender's statement that the debt has been repaid in full. What is the lender's statement that said that they record in
Serif deed.
Listen,
Satisfaction of the mortgage.
the lender's statement, yes, the lender's statement that the debt has been repaid in full and the lender has no further claim on the property, they record a satisfaction of mortgage or satisfaction of lien in the public records. So 16 is M as in Michael, satisfaction.
Satisfaction. Yeah.
Personal promise to repay money similar to a note.
Sheriff deed.
So,
Sheriff's deed is not a personal promise to repay money. What is the personal promise to repay money similar to a note?
It's a bond.
It's a bond. 3 is N. Lender's statement of how much remains on the debt. What is the lender's statement of how much remains on the debt? We know the bond
That's a
statement is called an estoppel certificate. So what is the lender's
Reduction.
statement? It's a reduction certificate. Yes. 14 is O, reduction certificate. An arrangement by which the mortgage holder gives up priority.
subordination agreement.
Yes, the subordination agreement. 19 is
They
P.
gave up part of their property.
To seize and sell property pledged for a debt.
foreclosure.
Foreclosure. 8 is Q. 8 is Q. Clause stating that in case of default, the entire debt is immediately payable. What do we call that?
That is-
Acceleration clause.
Yep, the acceleration clause. They accelerate the terms of repayment that the entire debt is due and owing immediately. 1 is R. It's the first step in foreclosure, right? They enact the acceleration clause. 1 is R. A document given to purchasers of foreclosed property.
Sheriff
Sheriff
deed.
deed.
Sheriff.
A sheriff's deed. 17 is S. Wait. Yes, 17 is S, as in Sam. Personal promise to repay a loan similar to a bond, but we use these in New Jersey.
Note.
A note.
A note. 13 is T. Correct.
Mm.
And that concludes chapter 13. However, I got some bonus videos here for you to watch at the end of this chapter, which gives some good ideas about how to delay foreclosure. Unfortunately, these businesses, these websites that they mentioned here are not still available. But these were very popular during the entire mortgage meltdown, where foreclosures were going on left and right. People were trying to renegotiate their loans, and they were having trouble doing this. So let's watch this. Let me shut off my video to get less lag and share my audio from the computer and optimize the video sharing. So here we go. Ready?
Mhm.
All right, joining today by Peter Murphy and Terry Smiljanich. Tell us why ConsumerWarningNetwork.com got some national play this past week with an idea to helping people in foreclosures, and that is what?
That is called Produce the Note.
Is it like Show Me the Money?
Yeah, Show Me the Money, exactly. It's on our website, and it's received a lot of national attention. AP, CNN, ABC, a lot of different entities. And what it is, it's an attempt to provide some help to people that are in foreclosure,
Okay.
and who are just simply trying to slow things down so that maybe they can work with the bank a little more, because the bank's not returning their calls, is not willing to work with them. They hear about these Obama plans and other plans, and they'd like to participate in them. But meanwhile, the sheriff's knocking on the door, and they're going to be foreclosed next week. Well, what we talk about on our website is the idea of a simple request to the lender who's suing you, saying, "Let me see the note." You say I owe you this money, and it's based on a note, a mortgage. Let me see the original note, not a copy of it. Let me see the original, because whoever holds that original is the one that has the right, to enforce the debt.
Well, I thought these things had been.
Let me stop right there. You hear what he said? Only the original person who gave you that loan has the right to enforce and collect the debt. They need that original document, not a photocopy of the note, but the original
Mm.
document that you signed at the closing table that said that you agree to pay back according to the terms in the note, and you are going to be held personally liable for that debt, even if it's not enough. If they got to foreclose, even if the proceeds are not enough to pay off the loan. So only the holder of the note is the one who has the legal right to enforce collection of the debt. And if they don't have it, they can't foreclose on you or try to do collections. Oh, now let's continue. I'll back it up just a little bit and you could continue watching.
Enforce the
I
debt.
thought these things had been sliced and diced and chopped
Well,
up and bundled and sent off to wherever.
The problem is
that right?
there's still an original note somewhere.
Somewhere.
But yeah, but it's been chopped up and diced and sold and resold and resold. And what the banks, what it forces the mortgage lender to do is say, ooh, where is the note? And they have to go find it. And maybe sometimes they can't find it. They can still go to court and say, well, we can't find the note, but here's the proof that we have that we're the appropriate. So
I'm not sure what proof they have, because the proof they have is the note itself. So they would need to try to prove somehow that you had the outstanding debt. And you should never answer any questions in court about, yes, I took out this loan, yes, I borrowed this money from them, because that's self-incrimination. So you should plead the fifth and let them leave the burden on the lender, to the debt collector, to prove the fact that you owe them the money. And they shouldn't be able to do that with a photocopy of a note. And if they can't find the original note, well, that's their problem, not yours. That's their burden to prove.
it's not a way to help like deadbeats or something, to just stay in a home for free.
But deadbeats can stay in a home for free if they can't prove that they owe the money. And and if you do it long enough, you could ask the court to kick out the lender's claim that they keep harassing you over this loan that they can't prove that you owe.
What
If
it
they
is,
find the note, you're still going to be foreclosed on.
you're still
right?
going to be foreclosed on.
So-
But if it buys you an extra 8 months where you can work with the bank and try to modify, and maybe also people that have adopted the strategy, what we've seen often is that because they've taken that approach, suddenly the lender has gotten a lot more interested in returning their phone calls and working with
it
them.
gets them actually
Gets them-
in dialogue with
The squeaky,
right.
the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and so they get a little more attention from the bank, and they're willing to maybe work with them. So it's not a magic bullet of any kind, but it is an approach that people who are in those kind of desperate straits where they're about to have their property sold out from underneath their feet, to buy some time to see if they can work something out.
And you've seen it work for people.
Oh, we've seen it work for people, and there's lawyers in other states that have told us they've adopted the strategy, and they found that courts are very receptive to it.
Show me the note.
Show me the note.
That's fascinating.
Those three little words can help you avoid foreclosure. Show me the note. In other words, prove I owe you the money.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the bank is going after the borrower, but
Yes.
they done sold it so many times to these investors. So now this last investor that bought the loan, they're
But
trying to go after.
Yes. Think about it for a second. You went to your bank to get a loan.
Mm-hmm.
We sold that loan like in the first month or two, right? And to another investor. Well, who's got all those original loan documents?
The first bank that I went to, the first one.
Whose bank you got to? At some point, they're going to have to transfer all those original loan documents. They're going to need to find them in their paperwork somewhere, and they're going to have to send them off to whoever bought the loan. But by then, that other lien holder that bought your loan, they may have resold it already to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So who the hell is holding on to these loan documents, and what folder is it in? Because look, they don't just sell one loan at a time. Usually lenders are selling off hundreds or thousands of loans to investors.
So which one is coming after me now? The last person?
Their house is it in? It's up to them to find it. And they may not know what it is. That's their problem, not yours. If they're trying to foreclose on you and you're smart enough to open up your mail and then actually show up in court and say, what you do is you delay the court showings, you delay the hearings. Can we reschedule the hearing? Reschedule the hearing until the court no longer wants to reschedule. And then show up to court that day and say, Your Honor, I'm asking the lender to produce the note, prove that I owe them the money. And they're not going to have it in court with them there. I guarantee it's not going to have it in court.
This is only when you're in foreclosure already.
This is when we're in foreclosure. Yep, foreclosure is the judicial process. It goes through the courts. So you go to court. First of all, you delay those court hearings as long as you can. And then when you eventually go to court, you say, Your Honor, I'm asking that the lender produce the note, prove that I owe them the money. You don't have to say anything to incriminate yourself. It's up to them now to produce that note, that original document, not a photocopy, like he was saying, the original document that you signed with a pen at the closing table. And I guarantee you they're not going to have it. At least they're not going to have it with them there that day. They're not going to be prepared with it. So when you say produce the note, they're going to ask for a continuance to reschedule the court date.
Oh.
And so we reschedule the court date. And then what you could do is you could delay again until they no longer want the delay. You go to court, let's see if they actually have it. Bet you they don't. In most cases, they don't. But either way, you're buying yourself time to try to sell that property and pay it off. So there is no foreclosure. That's the whole. But
okay. That was like, okay, if they don't find it, then what happens?
Well, you'd be gambling. Hold on a second. You'd be gambling because you're not sure if they can find it, though. Because if they do find it and they produce it, now what's your strategy? So you got to assume that they can find it, even though in many cases they cannot. So if we do show up to court and they don't have it, you could ask the court to discharge their claim.
Okay.
They can't require you to make any mortgage payments or collect on the debt or foreclose on you if they can't prove that you owe them money. So can a deadbeat get out of paying their mortgage? Yes, it is possible. Now this guy on TV is not trying to say that on TV because he don't want a bunch of people out there trying to be deadbeats now and avoid paying their mortgages. Right.
Question.
Yeah.
So when you make the payment, you do an implied contract. So.
Yeah, but the lender is not going to say, well, you owe us money because you made a payment to us. Okay. What is the payment for? Can you prove how much I owe you? The only way you can prove how much I owe you and that I owed you any money whatsoever is by producing the note.
So
now they could try to use that as evidence to try to justify getting a new note reissued. But I'm not exactly sure what's involved in that, but I'm sure there's a lot involved in that because it's not the original document. So how are they going to prove that you owe it? Through implied contracts?
Probably you can delay and you can be years and years in court and they can approve, right?
Yeah, by then you should have been able to sell the property, though.
Your house to be sold, and you don't have to worry about it.
Because remember, I'm not trying to teach you how to be a deadbeat, but I am trying to show you how you can definitely delay when time is needed, right? So,
All right, Joe.
There's another one.
Help.
Okay, let me minimize these videos.
But don't they ask to the property owner if he has some documents? I'm just asking. Because any original copy, they make duplicate original, right?
Wait a second, though. The question she just asked was, can they ask you as the borrower, as the homeowner, to produce the documents that you had the duplicate originals of for the mortgage?
Note.
Yeah, the note.
The note.
They can ask all they want. In the United States, we're not obligated to provide evidence to somebody who's suing us or for law
Okay.
enforcement.
You're
What
right.
about pleading the Fifth Amendment? We have the right to avoid self-incrimination. We don't need to provide evidence for someone else to use against us.
That's when we have amnesia. You don't know nothing.
Yes.
You know,
I got it.
a lawyer one time, he gave me these cards. I still have one in my wallet. And the card says on it, you know, it's his business card, but if you turn it over, it has an image on it and it has some words. And it says, remember, even a fish wouldn't get caught if it kept its mouth shut.
Mm-hmm. That's a good word. That's a good saying, especially for an attorney.
Yeah. So here, but let's watch this next one here. Yeah, these are pretty good. These are pretty good.
Hello, I'm Angie Moreski. The important question now is how can you use the Produce the Note strategy to help you save your home? Attorney John Yanchunas is joining us today to help give you some tips on how to proceed. John, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, first question here, is this something that anybody facing foreclosure can use?
Everybody should use it. Everybody should put the lender to the task of establishing that it owns the debt that it claims that you owe to it.
Now, is there a good indicator? I noticed as I've looked through some of the mortgage foreclosure complaints that the lenders file with the court, some of them actually have these counts in them that say reestablishment of note, and then the wording is actually the mortgage note has either been lost or destroyed, and the plaintiff is unable to state the manner in which this has occurred. They're admitting that they lost or destroyed the note.
Well, obviously that's the most, the best sign available that the lender doesn't have the note mortgage any longer.
So if you see that, or if you want to just try Produce the Note strategy, what's the first thing you should do?
Request through discovery that instrument be produced to you. Once that's served on the lawyer representing the plaintiff's lawyer has got to respond within 30 days with the document requested. If it does not, then the consumer needs to go to court and ask the court to compel the plaintiff to produce that document.
So literally a letter or a document that you send to the court, and we'll have a template on the website to help people through that process. And why is that so important to prove what?
Well, it's important to prove that the lending institution that is suing you on the note or to foreclose your home is in fact the owner of the debt. The lending institution which originated the note and mortgage, the debt, may no longer be the owner. It may have transferred it to another institution, which in turn may have transferred it to another lending institution, and so on and so forth.
And you should also be careful looking at the fees and penalties that they're rolling into this request. Is that right?
That can be collected like property inspection fees, late charges, but so frequently we found that some lending institutions collect sums of money which are simply made up. They're, I think, designed to increase the lender's bottom line. For instance, a foreclosure fee, a pre-bankruptcy fee.
So keep an eye on all those fees which may be unfair and unwarranted.
Absolutely. In fact, you should ask the lender for proof that that sum of money was paid.
Obviously, if you're behind in your mortgage, this is not a way to just get your house for free. What are we trying to do here?
Well, it gives the consumer leverage or buys the consumer time to work out with that lending institution a repayment plan of the arrearage or the default.
Do you think judges will be receptive to this?
Oh, absolutely. I've tried it many times. I've done it for many years. Judges expect lawyers and parties who come before them to adhere to the letter of the law.
So if I'm the homeowner and I end up before a judge, what do I say? What's my plea?
Well, what I want is the lender to produce the original note and mortgage. If they cannot, then put them to the task of establishing why they can't, and that they are in fact the owner of the note and mortgage. And of course, more importantly, or just as important, that every element of the debt that the lender claims that the consumer owes is in fact owed.
And the ultimate goal here is perhaps to get the lenders to be more receptive to negotiating fair terms so that a homeowner can actually stay in that home and keep their home.
Absolutely. The whole concept of equity, which is the principle which allows mortgages to be foreclosed, is a concept of fairness. And one of the most important principles in equity is equity abhors a forfeiture. That means that property that secures an obligation should not be forfeited unless the letter of the law has been followed.
It's a pretty big thing to lose your home, so you should fight for it.
It's the most important asset that any consumer will ever have.
Okay, John, thank you very much. We appreciate your time here today.
Thank you.
Interesting stuff, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got one more here, and then we're gonna show a really interesting one after this. But and then we'll be done with that. So.
With so many people losing their homes, this report from 7 on Your Side can help. You could be able to freeze a foreclosure by saying 3 simple words. Michael Finney is here tonight with what they are, and Michael, why they might work for you.
Yeah, the idea is really pretty simple. The homeowner saying to the lender, produce the note. Now, that's legal shorthand for prove I owe you the money. American mortgages have been sliced and diced, bundled into complex financial vehicles, then sold around the world.
I think the note has been sold on so many times, and they've become very sloppy with their paperwork. It could be on a dumpster somewhere, for all I know.
And for all the banking and financial managers know, too. And that's becoming a safety net for homeowners. If the loan servicer can't prove they're collecting the money legally, the homeowner is off the hook, at least temporarily.
We've never seen a company produce the original note yet.
Say what?
Wow.
Is off the hook, at least temporarily.
We've never seen a company produce the original note yet.
Attorney Chris Hoyer set up this website offering consumers advice and paperwork to pursue a produce the note strategy. In Florida, the strategy is forcing lenders to stop proceedings, buying homeowners precious time.
$100 going twice.
But it has apparently never been tried here in California. Till now.
They saved our house. She's the one that speaks, works day and night, day and night, day and night on this house. See, we don't understand none of this. She's the one that did it.
That's Isabel and Richard Caparelli. This is their home, and attempting to save it, Deborah Caparelli, their daughter-in-law. A different Florida attorney helped her by email.
First, he said, have your bankruptcy attorney file an amended schedule listing this property as unsecured. Okay? Unsecured means that Saxon, the servicer, would have to stand up and say, it's secured, we have the note.
The Caparelli's attorney, Mark Voisnat, did that, allowing him to then say, produce the note. And today, the Caparellis went back to court, hoping to be the first in a long line of homeowners successfully using the produce the note strategy in California.
The judge gave us more time, and it seemed that they can't find the note yet. So we got hopes, lots of hopes.
Nothing was decided today, but the note has still not been produced.
They claim they have it, but I have no proof that they have this note. And so you would think by now, it's been almost 3 months, they would have pulled out a copy if they had it.
A recent study has found those documents are being lost an astounding 40% of the time. Now, even without the note, the banks can eventually collect if they can prove they have the legal right to a note and they can have another one issued. But that takes time, and for many in foreclosure, time is needed to straighten out their financial situations.
Well, produce the note.
Produce
3 words.
Yeah.
It could save you some time.
Yep.
Thanks, Michael, very much.
That'll definitely help. Check out this story. I looked at this one, in a New York Times story that I don't subscribe to them, so I had to rebuild the story from different news sources. But check out this story. This is, what's her name? Patsy something or other, Patsy Campbell. And this is her house in Florida. So this lady used the produce the note strategy along with many others, and she managed to delay foreclosure for 25 years.
Wow.
Could you imagine? She delayed foreclosure for 25 years. This was the longest foreclosure in history that's known.
Right.
She knew her rights. what disclosures the lenders were required to provide, and went along with a host of other info and tactics that she used to successfully against the lenders who tried to foreclose on her for years. And, she kept delaying and delaying and then going to court. And when she went to court, she'd do the same strategies over and over again. And then that lender wouldn't stay long enough. They would have resold that note to some other lender. And then she was off the hook for a while because it was quiet until that lender picked up the foreclosure and started the foreclosure. And then she just started it all over again. She managed to delay that foreclosure for 25 years. So they call it the foreclosure from hell. At least the lenders do. The 25-year foreclosure from hell. Banks now fear Patsy Campbell, who hasn't made a mortgage payment since 1985. An investment group finally was able to foreclose on her in 2010. As of 2022, I checked up on her and found that she's still alive at the age of 84. Patsy Campbell is a retired insurance saleswoman. She's been fighting foreclosure for 25 years on her home in Florida. She's been living there in her two-story house on a half acre in a middle-class neighborhood in Central Florida since 1978. The last time she made a mortgage payment was October 1985. Her foreclosure case outlasted 6 lenders and seen 7 great-grandchildren born.
Wow.
Miss Campbell's also been able to keep her house protected by a 105-pound pit bull named Dodger and a locked rusty gate advising the dog. She's challenged her foreclosure on the grounds that her mortgage was improperly transferred between banks and federal agencies, that lawyers for the bank had waited too long to prosecute the case, that a Florida law that shields her from creditors, and for dozens of other reasons that she used. She's met every attempt by a lender to repossess her home with multiple appeals and counteractions, burying the plaintiffs facing her under piles of paperwork. Do you have a question for Mom?
Question is like when promise to pay. Produce the note, right?
Yeah, produce the note.
Yeah, so when the owner.
That's only one. She used many more than that, but that was only one strategy she used. But yeah.
Why the lender, they don't have record?
Well,
why I'm asking, nowadays, everything you can, once you have contract and whatever it is, you save it, you make some kind of software you use, you download it and you have that record.
You need the original paper document that you signed with a pen.
Oh, yeah, they have to keep the original one.
You need the original. Photocopies are not enforceable in a court of law.
I was thinking about scanning and put it in the system. Okay.
Have a copy for your own records, but if it's needed to be proven something in a court of law, it's useless. You need
useless, right.
Original document. That's crazy, huh?
So let me ask you. So the bank, how many years they can keep it until they pay off?
They can keep
the note. They can keep it until the record. They should have it once
Listen, your lender should have these records. Okay. The thing is, you go to a bank and you get a loan to buy a house. They have all the paperwork that you signed at the closing. Okay, that was transferred from whoever the closing agent was, a title company or your attorney. They transferred it, they mailed it somewhere to the lender. The lender put it in a folder, in a box, in a warehouse, along with many other loans from other people. Okay? Now, your lender, how do lenders stay in business? How do they keep their banking license? Do you know that if lenders write too many defaulting loans, too many bad loans, they can lose their license to bank, their banking license?
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that lenders continually write bad loans that are non-performing and they keep their licenses? There's a trick to it. They call it mortgage-backed securities. They package up a bunch of non-performing loans with enough good loans that are performing and profitable to sell them off to some investor who will buy these bad loans along with the good ones in the package that has just enough good loans that makes the juice worth the squeeze for them. Okay? So this is how your lenders get those loans off their books. They sell all these bad loans along with a bunch of good loans. They call it mortgage-backed securities, and they sell it off to some investor. At some point in time, those hundreds or thousands of loans that they sold off to some investor, well, they're going to need to locate in their warehouse those folders that are in some box, along with many other loans.
Right.
Work and locate it, and that's a monumental task. You know, in some cases, the lenders don't even do this. What they do is they just shred it. You know how much space they need to keep all that paper?
I know, that's true. It's a
risk.
booklet.
Okay, so I'm going to show you another thing here. Now, this applies to New Jersey as well as other states, and this is pretty sad. But when it comes to foreclosures by a homeowners association, look at this instance. Here's an instance where a lady who owned a condo, homeowners association buys her condo. They foreclosed on her. They sold the property at auction, but then they bought the condo back at the auction for $3.25. And then they sell it for $1 to the attorney who did the foreclosure. She also had a real estate license. She reactivated the real estate license to buy the property. It's really sketchy. But New Jersey has very similar laws, as well as many other states. So this is a pretty interesting case. I don't have the video for it, but we'd have to watch it on the website here. So let's just show you on this website. This is pretty interesting, but pretty disturbing as well. But it's a thing. It's real.
Here's me calling.
How do I get it full screen? Come on.
Tricia Quigley calls her HOA's property management company. She gets this message.
How do I get it at full screen? Now I don't want to go full screen.
The number you dial.
Damn it. Used to be able to get this at full screen. Why is it not going full screen? Or maybe I have it in my, is it on the next slide maybe? I put the video, did I able to get it? No, I wasn't. Let's just watch the video from here, I guess.
Okay, here's me calling.
When Patricia Quigley calls her HOA's property management company, she gets this message.
The number you dialed is not a working number.
But call from any other phone number.
Thank you for calling Access Management Group.
You're blocked.
9 a.m.
In 2010, Quigley, upset with her HOA's billing process, decided to take a stand and refused to pay her dues, about $700 that year. But that only led to letters from Lozeka and Johansson, the law firm hired to collect on the debt. And that debt had grown.
Walked in, paid him the $2,700, and when I walked out, I said, "This is all I owe, right?" Yes.
But it wasn't all you owed.
No.
Shortly after, she received another bill for $3,000. She called and sent letters trying to figure out why. But all Quigley says she got in return were cryptic statements, dates with amounts that didn't make any sense to her.
Then here comes the next set of letters. And now it's up to $6,400.
Turns out there were post-judgment legal fees and 18% back interest. So even after she'd paid more than $9,000, she was still somehow behind on her dues. But in 2018, she received the most shocking letter of all, an eviction notice.
You know, you lose your home. That's hard.
But sadness turned to anger when she realized the HOA had purchased her home through foreclosure for $3.24
a year before she was evicted.
So you had been living in your house for a year, but you didn't legally own your house.
Quigley says not only did the HOA accept her dues payment on a house she apparently did not own, but allowed her to make another $4,600 in home loan payments before getting kicked out.
She paid a debt she did not owe.
Yes, that's for sure. And they don't have to give it back.
Attorney George Nowak has helped craft Georgia's HOA laws since the 1980s. He says Quigley's story is tragic, but it is a tragedy of her own making.
It doesn't happen
in a vacuum.
In a back room, in blue smoke and mirrors.
Nowak says the HOA can't win a judgment until the homeowner owes at least $2,000. The court must perform a title search, have the foreclosure posted in the paper for a month, and the homeowner served.
They brought this on because they ignored all of the requests to pay. They didn't show up at the trial most times.
You want some more?
Quigley admits she never did go to court, not understanding the process or the stakes involved. But Phoenicia Law, a homeowner in Douglas County, did try to fight the HOA's claims against her.
When they garnished my bank account, I was unemployed.
Law owns a home in the Rosewood Community Association. She received a payment plan to catch up on her dues, but there were a few added fees she didn't understand.
I didn't know how it was stacking up. You
just knew it was a lot.
I knew it was a lot.
She disputed the bill in court, appealing to the judge for help.
These exhibits I sent to the court.
But court records say Law's dispute arrived one day too late, so the judge couldn't consider issues like this check, an HOA payment mailed in vain.
Clearly, returned to sender 7 times.
But the kicker, after she lost the case, she was told to mail her settlement payment to that same address. And this time, the check didn't come back.
While it's portrayed as cold and you're taking advantage of the homeowner, it's the exact opposite. People who don't pay their assessments are having everybody else in the community subsidize them.
Georgia law fiercely protects an HOA's right to collect what is owed, but neither of these women deny their debt. What they do have a problem with is the inability to mediate and ask questions when a disagreement arises.
A lot of times, people can't afford to fight. They just have to walk away.
According to the Community Association Institute, 6 states have some type of ombudsman to help educate and facilitate these discussions. And several states require mediation before a lawsuit is filed. Georgia isn't one of them. After Quigley was evicted, the Reveal learned her HOA sold the house to an employee at the law firm involved in her foreclosure.
That really bothers me because how could that not be illegal?
According to public documents, Legacy Investment Properties, a company that didn't legally exist at the time, bought the house for $1 and a portion of the profits. The woman behind the LLC then reactivated her real estate license and sold the home to a new family.
I've never heard a story like that before.
Well, the HOA and law firm recouped their money, and the LLC likely made some.
This cat's tougher than...
Quigley ended up homeless, losing tens of thousands of dollars in equity.
The courts have said there is no legitimate reason for not paying. If you believe the association has done you wrong, then sue the association.
Pay it.
And sue the association.
It's pretty messed up, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about this? Did you ever hear of somebody suing the bank and foreclosing on the bank?
Oh,
as a foreclosure defense attorney, this is sweet justice.
Only on Wink tonight, the tables are turned. Instead of Bank of America foreclosing on a home, a homeowner has deputies foreclose on the bank.
Bank of America filed foreclosure papers on a homeowner who didn't owe a dime. They paid for their house with cash.
Renee Stoll live at the Bank of America branch on Davis Boulevard in Naples with this story you'll see only on Wink tonight.
This is about a family who fought back and won. Their foreclosure nightmare started when they bought a house in the Golden Gate Estates owned by Bank of America. Like you said, they paid cash, so they never had a mortgage. Well, Bank of America fouled it up somewhere along the lines and actually tried to foreclose on the family. And what happened today, you're just going to have to see to believe. Movers, a truck, and an armed deputy, all while a nervous homeowner stands by and waits. This is normally what you'd see when a person's being foreclosed on and their property seized by a bank. But today, it's the other way around.
They've ignored our calls, ignored our letters. Legally, this is the next step to get my clients compensated.
A Collier County judge said Bank of America had to pay Maureen Nairges and her husband's legal fees after the bank tried to foreclose on their Golden Gate Estates property, but they paid cash. The courts agreed they never had a mortgage to begin with. After more than 5 months, the bank still hadn't paid up. So the homeowner's attorney did just what the bank would do to get their money, seize their assets.
I instructed the deputy to go in and take desks, computers, copiers, filing cabinets, including cash in the drawers.
Outside the bank, several deputies stood by with movers ready to start hauling out the bank's office supplies and furniture. Inside, the homeowner's attorney was locked out of the bank manager's office by deputies while the bank manager tried to figure out what to do.
He was visibly shaken. Having two sheriff's deputies sitting across your desk and a lawyer standing up behind them, demanding whatever assets are in the bank, it can be intimidating. But so is having your home foreclosed on when it wasn't right.
After about an hour, the bank finally cut a check.
As a foreclosure defense attorney, this is sweet justice, because this is a symptom of a larger problem.
Now, the homeowner's attorney says that he sees mistakes all the time in foreclosure court where banks do not do their due diligence, and it winds up becoming a very lengthy process for the homeowners. He says he can only think of one other time where an attorney, the deputies, and a U-Haul came to a bank before ready to seize property. That was in Tampa. As far as Bank of America, they issued a statement saying that they apologize for the wait on the payment. They issued a notice to pay from the attorney that was working on the case on their side, but they didn't know the attorney went out of business. We'll be reporting live here in Naples. Renee Stoll, Wink News now.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Wow.
So that now is officially the end of this chapter 13. But that was the first of we got two more mortgage chapters. The second one, chapter 14, is going to be a larger chapter than 15. Not so big, but it doesn't have as much stuff that we need to know. But anyway, that concludes chapter 13. So